Welcome to the stream, everyone. It is your boy, Pocket Locker, aka Heartbreak J. And as always, I am in airplane mode. Listen, folks, I'm so excited that you decided to join me, whether it's now, later, never, whenever works for you, works for me. I see my man D-Pack is in the chat. D-Pack, welcome to the stream. Thanks for being first. Folks, today I am going to do something very, very special. But for first, I just want to give you guys a couple updates about things that are going on around here at the Church of Pocket Locker, if you will. A couple of church business items. So first off, the main thing is you can now, of course, donate to the channel with the links below in the description. You can hit me up on PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. And there are, of course, 3 strategic initiatives that we are very serious about here, and in the spirit of financial transparency, I want you to know what they are. They are, number 1, the weed fund, because marijuana is expensive. Number 2, the building fund, because we got to keep the lights on around here. And number 3, if I am going to be the best counter-apologist that I can be, I need to go get trained where the best apologists in the world are trained. And so I need you to help support my tuition for a dual PhD in spiritual acquisition, in ministry development at that elusive and exclusive Scrooge McDuck Bible University, folks. So go ahead. Put that money in the plate, folks. You could put 1 stack in the plate, 2 stacks in the plate, 3 stacks in the plate, folks. Totally up to you. Or you could just slip us a 5 for the building fund. Now, listen, folks, today on the stream, I want to do something very special. So let me remind you first of other things we have going on. Every Saturday night, you can tune in at 1 a.m. for that Late-Night Counter-Apologetics. You know, every once in a while, you have an idea, and you think it's going to be a good idea, and then you do it, and it just delivers so much more than you were even hoping for. That is what Late-Night Counter-Apologetics has been for us around here. So do go and check it out. Last night, we had a wonderful time talking about cursing pastors, just straight up some cussing-ass pastors. It was a great time. Do check that out. Every Sunday afternoon, so a little bit earlier today, I hosted Hot Program with MyOneBlack Friend. Do be sure to check that channel out. Link should also be in the description. And coming up soon, I'll be starting a podcast called No Good and Evil with my main man, Tux. So be on the lookout for those things. Also, I'm hoping that we're going to maybe interview Rebecca from Bread of Life over on Hot Program. And then I may pop up over there on the Bread of Life channel myself to have some conversations with Rebecca. She's somebody I'm a big fan of, and hoping to get to know a little better. So this thing we're doing here, this little series is going to be very different than Late Night Counter-Apologetics, and I hope you enjoy it. What I kind of realized, folks, was that as I was having these conversations with people, and I started to bring up certain atheists and certain critical thinkers that were very important to me. What up, Cameron? I see you. Thanks for coming through, my friend. What up, YouTube punk? Y'all know the chat and comment section crew is always on point. But yeah, I realized that if I said to people like, let's talk about this argument, let's talk about that argument, let's talk about this apologist, let's talk about that apologist, we will all kind of be on the same page. But then when I started to have conversations about some of my real positive influences, like some of the people that, is that Larnell Lewis on the video? That's me, bro. That's a good one. I like that, though. Is that Larnell Lewis? Y'all are cute. Y'all trying to let the boy Pocket Locker, y'all know something about pocket lockers. Y'all trying to tell me y'all know something about some of them other drummers. Shout out to Larnell Lewis. That's one of my real heroes right there, right? Because he's doing that at a high level, but he's a musician's musician. So if you do want to see out of this world drummer, check out Larnell Lewis for sure. So anyway, I started to realize that basically there was a higher degree of familiarity with the negative case. In other words, we were a little bit more versed in what we don't believe and who we don't agree with. And I thought, you know what I would really love to do is talk more about, say, the positive case for atheism, if you will. Some of my anti-theist heroes. I wanted to really introduce my community to the people that I think are actually had the most influence on how I actually think. So, you know, with that in mind, I want to start this series off. And again, like I said, it's going to be very different because I'm doing this by myself, and it's going to be like a very different tone than Late-Night Counter-Apologetics. Like that's a very silly thing. I want this to be a little bit more intellectually probing. But we're going to start off with Christopher Hitchens. Because in this time, these last couple years, with all of the craziness that's been going on in the world, I actually find that his voice is one that I really, really just miss right now. And I find myself listening to his debates and his talks and, in this case, his book, and just really almost like hurting, like feeling like I've lost a close member of my family who's like just not here anymore. And like, we need that voice like more than ever. Right. And so, we're going to start by going through God Is Not Great by, Christopher Hitchens. Yeah. You know, when I do the sign of the Trinity here, I do in the Darwin and the Dawkins and the Christopher Hitchens signs, bless you. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Right. And so I think, you know, those might be three thinkers right there to start with: Hitchens, Dawkins, Darwin, you know, and really actually just kind of get into my thoughts on, you know, what they really have to say. I want to say a little bit directly about Christopher Hitchens before we dive in. And the main thing I want to say about Christopher Hitchens is that it's hard for me. I put this comment on one of his videos that it's hard for me to put in words his influence on me. I just really feel the need to hear more of his. Like, the older I get, the more crazy shit I live through, the more I'm like, oh my God, like we really need to listen to Christopher Hitchens even more than I thought last month, which was even more than I thought the month before that, which is way more than I thought last year. And he's somebody that I fortunately came to too late. Like, I think he was pretty much dead when I really started listening to him and reading him, but still he is shot to, I think, the very, very, very top of my intellectual influences. I can't think of somebody off the top of my head that's had more influence on me. And it reminds me of this book I read in English class in college that was called Sin Boldly, which was like the idea that you had to find your voice and you had to be willing to, you know, really say something. If you were ever going to have a voice, you had to take some risk and let people know what you have to say. And Christopher Hitchens just did that in a way that, one, I found incredibly liberating, because as a former believer and as somebody very much stuck in the Christian and theist identity, the way he kind of tore it down with a certain degree of hostility, quite frankly, with a certain degree of ridicule, with a certain degree of how dare you, really helped free me. Like, oh, okay, I can really let that go now. because there are people who, you know, are on that journey to the truth by whatever means that are really empowering me. Like, oh yeah, like yeah, that shit was crazy. Like, let that shit go. Like, yeah, like I was out there on that silly stuff. And sometimes I feel like other counter apologists are just too nice about it. And it allows a person to like engage with you, but walk away still feeling really great about holding on to all of these silly beliefs. And so the sort of ridicule that he put on offer was something that I actually really needed. And then on top of that, he's sort of famous for tearing down people's heroes. He wrote extensively, being very critical of the Clintons. He also wrote in support of, you know, the war in Iraq. I wonder how he would talk about that now, but he was certainly on about some things that were very relevant. He testified against the canonization of Mother Teresa, wrote extensively about her essentially kind of being a fraud. He wrote the same way critiquing Gandhi. So, I like Sam Harris too. YouTube Punk, what is IDW? Let me know about that. But yeah, Sam Harris is somebody we could definitely get into too. So I really appreciate Christopher Hitchens. Oh, intellectual dark web. Okay. Thanks for cluing me in. Learn something new every day. Appreciate the chat. That's why I got to come through and get the chat. Also, I will sort of open up the stream if anybody wants to come through and kind of hang out and give me their thoughts as well. I will open that up. What did I do here? It looks like oh, there we go. I will open it up, but I'll probably wait till after I get through all of the chapter. That way, people who come to this after these sort of intro pieces will be able to jump in, get through the chapter with my commentary, and then if they want to stick around for a little hangout afterwards, I'll do that. But the room is here. Deepak for sure. You could join in. Actually, you know what? Y'all could join in. I don't really care. It'll be fine either way. As long as you understand that, you know, after a little bit of a conversation, I'll probably jump into the clips. But yeah, y'all could feel free to join in. Why not? Why not? Let's keep it. We got to keep it community based. Y'all know how I do. And I'm actually about to put the link here up on a banner. So that's the link. I'm also going to drop it in the chat for you guys. Yeah, I like Deepak's insights too. Deepak is really supposed to be a guest on Hot Program. Deepak is one of the people we want to host on Hot Program. But I'd love to have Deepak jump in. Any of you guys could jump in if you want. I'm good with it. So yeah, I really am excited about this. I thought of this, I was listening to it, and I was like, you know what? I think this is a good idea, right? Like, let's put our side out there a little bit more. Let's talk about what we think and who we follow, who we think has something to say. So that was the motivation for this. I'm very, very excited to get into it. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and play. I'm not gonna put up video much because there really is no video. It's an audio book. But every once in a while, if I just sort of get if I just feel like I'm missing Hitch, and maybe as he gets started, I'll go ahead and have him on the screen there. The man Deepak is here.
Hey guys, hey, what's up?
What's up, Deepak? What's up? Welcome to the stream, man.
Thank you. This is fun. I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I haven't read much of Christopher Hitchens. I've seen some of his debates and stuff, but so I don't know if I have much to contribute. But so I'm going to listen for a while and then maybe ask a question or two.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm only going to do whatever the intro is in, I guess, chapter 1 today. But yeah, no, it'd be great if you're just giving your raw responses. And for the most part, I'll try to get into that. So this particular book I've listened to, but most of the time, if I do a video or something, I try not to check it out ahead of time. So I'm sure if people like this and we keep going with it, then I'm sure we'll get to books that I haven't heard before. Also, just want to say it's your first time on my channel, so welcome. I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah, it's the first time I've caught you live.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get it started here. I don't know. I feel like I think I moved it to this other window. I was like, I hope I didn't close it already. All right, yeah, here we go. They've got some nice little pretty music that plays in the beginning.
Look at that huge screen in front of you.
I do, yeah.
Hachette Audio presents God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. Written by Christopher Hitchens and read by the author.
O wearisome condition of humanity, born under one law to another bound, vainly begot and yet forbidden vanity, created sick, commanded to be sound. Fulk Greville, Mustafa. And do you think that unto such as you, a maggot-minded, starved, fanatic crew, God gave a secret and denied it me? Well, well, what matters it? Believe that too. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, in the Richard Le Gallienne translation. Peacefully they will die, peacefully they will expire in your name, and beyond the grave they will find only death. But we will keep the secret, and for their own happiness we will entice them with a heavenly and eternal reward. The Grand Inquisitor to his Saviour in the Brothers Karamazov. Chapter 1. Putting it mildly. If the intended reader of this book should want to go beyond disagreement with its author, and try to identify the sins and deformities that animated him to write it, and I have certainly noticed that those who publicly affirm charity and compassion and forgiveness are often inclined to take this course, then he or she will not just be quarrelling with the unknowable and ineffable Creator who, presumably, opted to make me this way. They will be defiling the memory of a good, sincere, simple woman, of stable and decent faith, named Mrs. Jean Watts. It was Mrs. Watts's task, when I was a boy of about 9, and attending a school on the edge of Dartmoor in southwestern England, to instruct me in lessons about nature, and also about Scripture. She would take me and my fellows on walks in an especially lovely part of my beautiful country of birth, and teach us to tell the different birds, trees, and plants from one another. The amazing variety to be found in a hedgerow, the wonder of a clutch of eggs found in an intricate nest, the way that if the nettles stung your legs, we had to wear shorts, there would be a soothing dock leaf planted near to hand. All this has stayed in my mind, just like the gamekeeper's museum, where the local peasantry would display the corpses of rats, weasels, and other vermin and predators, presumably supplied by some less kindly deity. If you read John Clare's imperishable rural poems, you will catch the music of what I mean to convey. At later lessons we would be given a printed slip of paper entitled Search the Scriptures, which was sent to the school by whatever national authority supervised the teaching of religion. This, along with daily prayer services, was compulsory and enforced by the state. The slip would contain a single verse from the Old or the New Testament, and the assignment was to look up the verse and then to tell the class or the teacher, orally or in writing, what the story and the moral was. I used to love this exercise, and even to excel at it, so that, like Bertie Wooster, I frequently passed top in Scripture class. It was my first introduction to practical and textual criticism. I would read all the chapters that led up to the verse, and all the ones that followed it, to be sure that I'd got the point of the original clue. I can still do this, greatly to the annoyance of some of my enemies, and I still have respect for those whose style is sometimes dismissed as merely Talmudic, or Quranic, or fundamentalist.
All right, Deepak, I might hit you with some lightning round questions. So just quick one here. Did you have religious instruction growing up?
Not really. Like, so India is a secular country, technically, right? So you have like, it's like 80% Hindu and then like 15% Muslim and 5% Christian. Atheists just don't count, I guess.
Right.
But because of that, like, schools are supposed to teach. Well, we had this course. It was really weird. We had this like class in school called MIGK, Moral Instruction and General Knowledge. Somehow those two subjects got clumped.
Just thrown together. Yeah, yeah, of course. Why not?
And yeah, you just learn. But even like moral instruction had like had lessons about God. They just assumed that God exists, right? And it's just like God is good and God is truth and like very generic kind of concepts. But
So like a generic theist concepts, but not like particular to anybody. And then you weren't like studying scripture or anything.
Oh, no,
Cameron mentioned, can I get some Bundy bucks or Bundy coins? So actually, guys, the channel currency, of course, is called pocket change because what else would it be called? But I don't. It's set up for my Twitch. I don't know what I got to do to like put it over here on YouTube, but I will figure that out and make sure we get that going. And I'll be sure to make sure you guys all get plenty of pocket change for showing up to the first stream. So thanks for the reminder. On my end, I come from 5 generations of ministers. Actually, I was talking to Tux one day, and I was like, I think I did this because it's just in my family blood. Because I come from like ministers on my mom's side as far back as like the plantation, as far as I can tell. And there's also this thing where like a bunch of men in my family, like in my grandfather's lineage, have started churches in either super small storefronts or like literally in the basement of the home. And so I was like, I think I'm like rebelling against my family and being an atheist, but really I'm just starting an atheist church in my living room like everybody else in my family would do. So maybe the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But yeah, I went to Catholic schools growing up, and it was weird because a lot of Catholic schools are just thrown into Catholic school because they're in the diocese, but Catholic kids don't take the religion seriously, like at all.
I've heard, yeah.
And so we had theology class, and it felt like I was the only one who took theology class seriously. Yeah, but I took it very seriously. I wanted, like Christopher, I wanted to be the like best student in theology class, and because I thought it'd be like embarrassing to be like a preacher's grandkid and like not. Yeah. I also took the prayers and all that stuff seriously. Go ahead.
I was son of a preacher man. I was thinking of that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool.
I don't know. I have a question.
Sure.
How you want to do this? Like, you should probably get back to the Hitchens.
No, you're good.
Yeah, since you brought up like your family's history, right? Like, this might be like a weird, or I don't know. I should probably I have to find a way to phrase it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We're adult company here.
Okay, but I've always wondered what were the like cultural influences that made black populations when they were brought over from Africa, right, as part of the slave trade.
Sure.
The religion of essentially the people who kidnapped them. Right? I mean, I can answer that as an atheist. So.
I don't know what exactly happened, but my impression, honestly, the way it's kind of, I hate to sound like the Hebrews here, the way it's culturally remembered is sort of like it was the white man's religion and it was the master's religion, even to the point that I think there was a lot of subversiveness, from you hear stories about black people trying to take like their African religious traditions and like integrate them and like remix songs in certain ways, and then traditions about like that way if master comes around you could change up what you're singing a little bit and make it sound Christian-y, and then he goes away or whatever. But then another big thing for me that I think is very relevant today is that the sort of civil rights struggle, I think, is very much tied to the church. Really a lot of black Christians don't really celebrate like New Year's properly. They celebrate what's called Watch Night. and it's supposed to be like a celebration of like the slaves were going to be free at like midnight that year. And so like New Year's is like celebrating the like, oh, we were free at New Year's, you know, like, so you do that. So you're in church on New Year's from like 10 to like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then also I tie it to like cultural participation, right? So if you're newly emancipated, you go to the North or whatever, it's like, you aren't going to be a doctor or a lawyer or even probably a public school teacher or there's not a lot of avenues to influence and social status, but everybody could participate in the church. And so you had avenues to participate and be elevated there. And then also you find things where a lot of church songs were literally, you sort of took out the word Jesus and inserted the word freedom instead. And then you had a song like, woke up with my mind stayed on Jesus. It would be like, stayed on freedom. You know, so I think that that was something that was probably happening in the slave movement. Like slaves were doing that. Again, it's like, oh, master's coming. Jesus, Jesus. Oh, he's gone. Freedom. You know? and then, you know, that carried on to the civil rights movement. Right. And then all of our leaders were like boy wonder preachers, like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You know, they all came out of the church. And I think that's the problem now, to be honest with you. A big part of my motivation, what I was seeing in this community was like, I really love what I was seeing in the atheist community and all the counter-apologetics, but it was sort of engaging, I hate to say it, like a very white, at least middle class, educated, sort of philosophically inclined, male, very, very, very male sort of version of Christianity. Yeah. And I felt like, if that's the only version that's being counter-apologized, then these other sort of ways of being a Christian aren't even being challenged, because it's like, well, I don't.
It's their problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's their problem. They don't know who William Lane Craig is. They don't know who Sean McDowell is. So they're just like, I don't believe based on that stuff anyway. So they could just dismiss it. And so I was like, we need to, really expand the circle of like what types of faith we're talking about, right? And who we're talking to. So for instance, like I think a lot of black people, they identify more with the Rebeccas of the world than some of the more highfalutin PhD types, if that makes any sense.
I think most people do it. Most
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if Christian, like if you take like your fundamentalist, I don't know, Calvinist Christian, right, and turn him into someone like Rebecca, I wouldn't have so much problem with that. Like I'd be like, except for a few places where like politics, like for example, abortion, right, like pro-choice.
Yeah.
Except for that, I have no problem with people staying Christian forever if it's a reasonable, like, if it gives them something in their life that, I don't know. Like, I feel like in Rebecca's case, like I am not that incentivized to like move her off of Christianity.
Yeah, it's actually kind of good that this came up, because one of the things that I should have really mentioned in the intro, one of the things I really love about Christopher Hitchens, and one of the reasons I wanted to go to him, is because he's somebody who really came forward as not just an atheist, but an anti-theist. And I sort of felt like for myself, okay, well, I want to have the audacity myself to call myself an anti-theist, right? But at the same time, I'm kind of with you on an interpersonal level, where I might be anti-theist in the conceptual sense, but in terms of like the individual in their day-to-day living, I'm like, I don't care as long as it stays to the harmless space or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, right. But that's no different from saying really, if someone has different political views than me, right? Like, it would be in some sense nice if everyone shared the same views as me, but
sure,
I gotta accept some diversity. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm gonna jump back into this.
This is good.
Hold on, wait.
Caucasity.
However,
Yeah, also, he brought up a great point, like capoeira was fighting disguised as dance. Yeah. And there is YouTube punk. I think there are some people who Christianity makes them a better person. Now, I don't think that says much about Christianity, and I don't think it says much about them. Because I just think that's the narrative of people's life. Like, they really believe that the source of their goodness, the very notions of their goodness, comes from their faith, and I just like don't buy it. Like, even my mom, I would honestly, I'm actually getting more and more comfortable with the idea. I might have to just say it at some point. Like, I think you're good in spite of your religion, not because of it. But like, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Like,
Star Trek makes some people live better lives, I think, too. Like, you could say the same thing about Star Trek or Lord of the Rings or...
I think the same thing about atheism, right? I think like not having that belief makes me have to want to be good or like want to do the right thing. And, it also makes me feel like connected to the sort of reality. Like in other words, I take motivation from the like, oh, we all come from one source, one tree of life. But I just think like evolution just like shows us that, so we don't have to be like phantasmical about it. We could just be like, oh, this is the truth. It's awesome, but it's also the reason we're all gonna die. So I wouldn't take it too far. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
There came a day when poor dear Mrs. Watts overreached herself. Seeking ambitiously to fuse her two roles as nature instructor and Bible teacher.
What up,
she
Spartan
said,
Theology?
So you see, children, how powerful and generous God is. He's made all the trees and grass to be green, which is exactly the color that's most restful to our eyes. Imagine if instead the vegetation was all purple or orange. How awful that would be. And now behold what this pious old trout hath wrought. I liked Mrs. Watts. She was an affectionate and childless widow, who had a friendly sheepdog who really was named Rover, and she would invite us for sweets and treats, after hours, to her slightly ramshackle old house near the railway line. If Satan chose her to tempt me into error, he was much more inventive than the subtle serpent in the Garden of Eden. She never raised her voice or offered violence, which couldn't be said for all my teachers.
I've been leaning into the ministry thing a little bit here, folks, so if you've got something and you'd like to partake of the communion, go ahead and raise that blood on up.
I might go grab myself a...
Yeah, go get some of the blood. I'm going to spark the refine. It's all good, man. Definitely go ahead and get yourself something. Get right, as they would say.
Teachers. And in general was one of those people, of the sort whose memorial is in Middlemarch, of whom it may be said that if things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been, this is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life, and rest in unvisited tombs. However, I was frankly appalled by what she said. My little ankle-strap sandals curled with embarrassment for her. At the age of 9, I had not even a conception of the argument from design, or of Darwinian evolution as its rival, or of the relationship between photosynthesis and chlorophyll. The secrets of the genome were as hidden from me as they were at that time to everyone else.
Now, something that's interesting about what he just said, too, y'all notice he said, I had no awareness of the argument from design or the Darwinian, counter to it, right? So you can see the shifting of the goalpost here, because one of the things I had just been in conversation with, I don't know who I was talking about or even where I was at. I think I was on Nathan's stream, right? I was on Nathan's stream, and we were talking with Danny about some of the conversations he had been having around the argument from design, and basically saying that a lot of them are now really talking about, oh, yeah. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Now, see, that's communion right there, breaking bread.
The atheist communion, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I was just talking about how, he just mentioned how he didn't know anything. When she mentions this silly thing about, how great it is that God made things green, because that's the most restful color for our eyes.
Yeah.
That he had no knowledge of the argument from design or the Darwinian alternative. And one thing that's interesting is I was just having this conversation with Danny about some of the more recent arguments from design, but that's all about the fine tuning, right? Sort of counter to the anthropic principle, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting how you can see the shifting of the goalposts, because for a lot of them, they know that, like, okay, it's no longer the design versus the Darwinian thing. That ship has sailed. Not for everybody, but for most of them, that ship has sailed. And now they can push it back to the universe or whatever, because they think that that's a gap that hasn't been filled yet, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I whenever I come on Nathan's stream and stuff, I like to bring this up, because I actually think that there's a chance the fine-tuning argument might, I don't know, like, well, okay, it might work, yeah, I would say that much, right? Like, yeah, I don't know, like...
He talks about it, not here, but look, I'll play this other clip real quick.
Sure. Yeah, he said something like it's the best argument they have. Or
yeah, like it's the best of what they've got. Like they don't have a lot of good stuff, but like of what they've got, that's probably it. Let me see. It should be in my history because I actually just pulled it up not too long ago. And then it's like, oh, and then you listen to 100 hours of worship music. Let's see, Christopher. But yeah, I like that second camera because it brings you guys into the studio when I'm doing stuff.
You have a soundboard? Is that what you have in front?
Yeah, that's for like post-production and when I do mixing and stuff. I kind of stream that stuff usually, but it's usually over at on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like an interesting quote or something. I don't know why it's
like from some kind of casual conversation with another atheist where someone's just asking.
Yeah. I guess I probably won't pull it, but yeah, he just said that he thinks the fine tuning is probably the strongest of the, not good arguments that they have.
Yeah. I mean, it only really gets you to something like, at best, like some kind of vague, creator who disappeared afterwards or something, right? Like,
yes, and my frustration.
Like this is the part that always like confuses me. Like Chris, like
scientists have been stunned by the discovery.
Sorry, they said they needed some more sound effects. I was like, let's throw a random one in there. But yeah, like I think for me, the thing that's frustrating, right, is that how many deists do you really know?
Like one or two people who show up on like these streams. Like that's about the only time I hear people say that. Like there's that guy. What's his name? He streams sometimes. He says he's a deist now. Beard, white, little. What's his name?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. If you think of it, we can plug him later. We'll give him a shout out. But yeah. So my point is, right? It's like who normally argues for these deistic positions? It's normally a theist.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, what would you even care about a deistic guy? The truth is you wouldn't. You really, so it doesn't, I don't see where it gets you.
In the same way I care about like whether, like the Riemann hypothesis is true or something, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to know, but yeah, it doesn't change my life.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that earlier today, actually. Like, I was thinking if like a deism God is true, it also kind of means that we would never really know, right? Because it's like you're going to die. It's not like you're going to get judged or anything. So you're just going to live and die. And we're sort of at like the model works without that. But like, if that was true, but I had no, like, sure, like whatever. Like, I don't think anybody would.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I always like wondered, like, so Christians often feel like, well, I don't know why I'm saying Christian, but like theists always often feel like once you get somebody to deism through like the Kalam or whatever, like it's just such a short hop from there to whatever particular version of
right.
They want.
And the truth is it's not, right? It's a huge leap. It's like not even close, and it really doesn't get you anywhere. But I think that you're right on that that's the strategy. It's like if I get you to deism, then you'll just suspend your disbelief about everything, and then I can it's like a wedge strategy, and then I can just slip that heart of Jesus in there, which I actually think is not the worst idea, right?
Yeah.
because I think their strong suit is like hope, meaning, purpose, and
Right.
like community, and like, you know, come live with us, you know.
Right.
So I think if it's like, if you can get me convinced that there's God, and then
Yeah.
you were just like the most charismatic
Yeah.
representation of God, then like fine, it might work, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Once I stop feeling stupid, it's what Doug says, right? Like, you know, you can like an argument for deism, once it's convinced you, is maybe enough to feel like you're not stupid, right? So it's like,
right. YouTube Punk said the Kalame.
kinda
We should make a video called the Kalame cosmological argument.
yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a good one. I gotta admit, I like that. Actually, I think I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm about to screenshot that one. I want to keep that one for myself. That's funny. All right, let's see. Glad I
had
did
not
this
then
already. This is fun.
visited scenes of nature where almost everything was hideously indifferent or hostile to human life, if not life itself. I simply knew, almost as if I had privileged access to a higher authority, that my teacher had managed to get everything wrong in just 2 sentences. The eyes were adjusted to nature, and not the other way about. I must not pretend to remember everything perfectly or in order after this epiphany, but in a fairly short time I had also begun to notice other oddities. Why, if God was the creator of all things, were we supposed to praise him so incessantly for doing what came to him naturally? This seemed servile, apart from anything else. If Jesus could heal a blind person he happened to meet, then why not heal blindness? What was so wonderful about his casting out devils, so that the devils would enter a herd of pigs instead? That seemed sinister, more like black magic. With all this continual prayer, why no result? Why did I have to keep saying in public that
I want to highlight that expression that he used right there. And his language is just amazing, right? He said that seemed like black magic. And it's really funny to me that like so many Christians, right, they even hate the term magic at all. Like if you suggest to them that what they believe is magic, like you are running the risk of them being highly offended, right? Like highly offended to suggest that they believe in magic. And what's weird about that is I had a lesson like bonk idiot, because I actually said this to one of my Christian friends and he killed me because he was like, oh no, it's definitely magic. And I was like, oh, so like you're just comfortable being like the God thing is magic? He's like, yeah, it's for sure, it's God magic. And I was like, oh, okay. So like you can't assume that they're all anti the magic. Like some of them are comfortable with it apparently.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a big community, right? Like with different
views. Yeah.
Like people who are like charismatic and stuff, right? They probably are like, yeah, it is magic. Call it magic if you want, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. But it's definitely a funny point because for me, I know a lot of the people, the believers that I know that are off put by that type of idea, it's because they've somehow allowed the sort of God magic to be normalized to the point where like magic is literally bad, but this is different. And then they don't see the superstitious nature of it all. Like, I especially have like Pentecostals in mind.
Magic is for like, Harry Potter and D&D games, and it's not serious, right? Like, so.
Yes.
God magic is, you can't call it magic.
Matter of fact, I can hit you with this, Deepak. Wouldn't a lot of them probably say, well, the difference is magic isn't real?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's probably what they'd say. Yeah. And there's magic and there's miracles. And miracles are
yeah, the thing is the one's happens and the other one, that Christopher Angel stuff. You don't let that Chris Angel fool you,
I wonder what percentage of people believe that, like, when someone like Chris Angel or whatever, David Blaine, like, does stuff, there might actually be some, like, the devil is behind some of that. Like, there must be people who believe that, like, some of the stuff that the really good magicians do.
Well, see, this is kind of what I'm getting at, right? Is that there's a lot of superstition that gets wrapped up into that, right? There's a lot of, like I was talking about, like, how I felt like a lot of even, like, sexual stuff, even as a straight man, felt repressed for me because it was like certain stuff was like weird. You weren't supposed to do that. You know, somebody made a joke about, you know, like I have 2 earrings in each ear, right? And part of it is because you weren't supposed to do that, right? If you had something pierced or 2 in the wrong ear, you might be gay or drug dealer or whatever. And then it became, well, you're never going to get a job with that tattoo. Like just all this type of superstitious stuff that comes rolled into it that somehow they're able to just compartmentalize and not even see it. And then the other thing that gets me with it is that it's all super Jewish, right? And even most of the Christians don't think about that. Like it's just like, you know, like even Jesus's whole thing with the law and the prophets and like, oh, the prophets point to him, and then he's got he curses the fig tree, but he's really talking about the temple cult. And I'm like, how do y'all miss the, you know, second period Jewish temple cultness of this whole thing? You know what I mean? Because I think most Christians don't really care about that stuff. And if they really started to tease apart all of that very Jewish messaging, they'd be like, yeah, this is a little weird, right? Because like, even like the Barnabas story, right? The like, we're going to release, all right, so this is the story where there was like 2 Jesuses, Barabbas, maybe his name is, I forget, but he's an actual criminal, right? He's done like...
Pilate and...
Yeah, right. So they say, we're going to let one go. And they say, yeah, let the actual murderer go. And let the guy that's never sinned ever, that was born to a virgin, kill his ass. We're tired of him, you know? And that story makes no sense, right? But as this metaphor that's being laid out for the Passover lamb and the... You know, you've got to sacrifice the, you know, there's a name for that lamb or whatever. I'm not thinking of it, but like, go ahead. The scapegoat, right? There's a reason it's called the scapegoat, right? Yeah. So
and this is like way older than Christianity, right? This idea that like you just have this creature or entity and you like dump all your sins on them, and then that thing dies and you're forgiven, right? Like this is actually, you know,
right.
like primitive, like older cultures have it, right? Like,
Sure, right. So it makes perfect sense as a Jewish version of that, right? It makes total sense. Now, as actual history, it makes, you know, no sense at all whatsoever. But then they have the Spider-Man effect, like, you know, because Spider-Man was shot in New York, right? So they go, well, Pontius Pilate was real.
Right, yeah. Was he? I mean, we know this second.
Yeah. Pontius Pilate was real. But see, that hurts them, right? Because you know who else Pontius Pilate was? He was real. Like, he didn't just let criminals go.
Yeah.
He didn't just hear that. He wasn't the type of dude to be like, oh, I executed somebody and they're no longer executed. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. No worries. Oh, they must be the Son of God in that case, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, like
Pontius Pilate. Ever.
Oh my, yeah. The fact that Pontius Pilate was real is not doing you any favors, my guy. Like, but yeah, it's just some of the funny things that come with just buying into the whole narrative, right?
Yeah.
Was a miserable sinner. Why was the subject of sex considered so toxic? These faltering and childish objections are, I've since discovered, extremely commonplace, partly because no religion can meet them with any satisfactory answer. But another, larger one also presented itself. I say presented itself rather than occurred to me because these objections are, as well as insuperable, inescapable. The headmaster, who led the daily services and prayers, and held the book, and was a bit of a sadist and a closeted homosexual, and whom I have long since forgiven because he ignited my interest in history and lent me my first copy of P.G. Wodehouse, was giving a no-nonsense talk to some of us one evening. You may not see the point of all this faith now, he said, but you will one day when you start to lose loved ones.
Wow.
Again, I experienced a stab of sheer indignation as well as disbelief. Why? That would be as much as saying that religion might not be true, but never mind that, since it can be relied upon for comfort. How contemptible. I was then nearing 13 and becoming quite the insufferable little intellectual. I had never heard of Sigmund Freud, though he would have been very useful to me in understanding the headmaster, but I had just been given a glimpse of his essay, The Future of an Illusion. I am inflicting all this upon you because I am not one of those whose chance at a wholesome belief was destroyed by child abuse or brutish indoctrination. I know that millions of human beings have had to endure these things,
Indoctrinate
and I do not think that
children.
religions can or should be absolved from imposing such miseries. In the very recent past, we've seen the Church of Rome befouled by its complicity with the unpardonable sin of child rape, or, as it might be phrased in Latin form, no child's behind left. But other non-religious organizations have committed similar crimes, or even worse ones. There still remain 4 irreducible objections to religious faith. That it wholly misrepresents the origins of man and the cosmos, that because of this original error, it manages to combine the maximum of servility with...
Yeah, it's funny, like, Richard Dawkins talks about what it's like to debate with Christopher Hitchens. Like, he always says if you get invited to debate Christopher Hitchens, don't. And it was like, he was saying that basically, like, when they're strategizing, you know, they don't even worry about it. Like, if Christopher Hitchens is on your team, you're just like, yeah, you know, get your main points in there, whatever you want to say, and then we'll just let Hitch take care of them, you know. And so what it makes me think of is that, like, his books are so scary because that's how he was thinking on his toes. This is how he is when he gets to do what he actually did for a living, which is sit down and write.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's actually a writer. So now you're hearing him, like, actually have time to think through, like, the best examples and the best quotes and really pull shit out. And it's just like, it's a master class in, like, expression.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, I guess, well, first of all, the accent alone, I think, like, even if...
For sure.
like, you know,
Yeah, the voice works.
Yeah. But I just think British writers are amazing. I guess it is their language, so it's not surprising they said it. But yeah, he's great. I mean, and Dawkins wasn't bad either. Dawkins could totally...
No, I think Dawkins is a great writer. Yeah.
And a speaker and a debater and, like...
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's almost sad because I think a lot of people kind of put him in that science communicator category.
Yeah.
It's a thing scientists do that really irritates me. It's like we take the people that are best at sharing the work with the public, and then we go, well, that person's not really a scientist. They're more of a science communicator. I'm like, just shut up. Just don't.
So is that an attitude in biology now? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. I have to make sure I don't ever do too much of this. It's a funny thing. Like, I have to make sure I don't do too much of this type of stuff because they'll tell you you're a science communicator. You can't really focus on, like, writing books for the public and stuff, like, until, like, later in your career. And then even, like, teaching, like, I try to, like, work really, really hard at my teaching. And so, but I have to always make sure people understand that it's, like, not my priority and I don't really want to be doing it because otherwise they'll put you in, like, a certain type of university and you're like, no, I'm a researcher. I do experiments for a living. I need to be with lab, you know what I'm saying? And you have to make it very clear, like, so for me, I want to be in a career where I don't teach more than maybe 1 or 2 classes a year. And then I'm spending, 70 to 80% of my effort on research.
Yep.
All right, hold on. There's a comment here I want to read.
Yes, I remember. People would actually, like, in grad school start preparing, like, by the 3rd or 4th year of PhD, they'd be like, you know what, I might just end up going to, like, teaching colleges. So
yeah, because they just want to teach, right? And I'm having to and it's cool. I'm lucky because I'm able to, like, early in my career be like, that's not what I want to do, and I'm able to, like, vocalize that so people that are, like, mentoring me or, like, helping me in the direction I want to go. I want to start to highlight some of these comments. Sorry I didn't put them up, but that's one of the reasons we switched over to StreamYard was so that we could put up the comments a lot easier. For me, his books are great, but he was best as an entertainment orator. Even the religious allowed him to be around because he was highly entertaining. Yeah, that's how I got used to him. I first found out about him through, like, debates and lectures, and I thought they were great. And to be honest with you, there are some of his debates now that I actually hate watching because if the other person isn't even good enough for me to be sharing the stage with them, then, like, I can't sit through them long enough. If that makes sense, I'm like, oh, I can't stand this dude. Like, no, I can't. So even it's funny, like, his debate with William Lane Craig is great to me because he's so good And even though William Lane Craig is just the shits in my opinion, it's William Lane Craig, and it's always entertaining. I always like to crap on him, so it's worth it. You know, I never get tired of it. It's like,
what is with you and with Craig? You seem to. I don't know. I've always been okay with Craig. I guess maybe.
Oh, you know, because honestly, I think he is, in his own way, he's the best apologist we have for atheism.
Nature is all there is. There is nothing beyond matter and energy. There is no supernatural reality.
I mean, that's what he said. I mean, those are his words.
Not out of context. No,
not taken out of context at all.
So you need to make more modest claims about your position.
You want to hear something really funny? All right, so one time I sat William Lane Craig down, and I asked him, and I said to him, William Lane Craig, I said, tell me the truth. What do you think about the flying man?
My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather could fly, literally, unaided. He actually, he ran off.
So, like, so I asked him, like, and he said he
started flying.
Oh, there it is. It came back. I don't know what happened. It like went out. It's like tripping. Like I don't know what happened to it. But then I started hitting them with all the arguments because I had the clips. I was like,
Myron flew in front of 512 friends and to the author of this book. People who were antagonistic to the man flying. They never liked the guy. They came to believe. Flew before Christianity.
So I just started building them up one piece at a time, right?
Diaries written about him by 4 of his friends. People dying for their belief in the flying man. Prophecies that this man would fly, written. It's on paper, written hundreds of years prior.
And then I told him, like, we have Doug as a descendant of him, and Doug even speaks in tongues.
Kerfuffle.
So by the time I got through with him, he was convinced, right? And so that's kind of how we converted. That's how we started the reasonabledoubt.com. Exactly. And so I was like, what do you think about all this?
We have a powerful cumulative case.
And so he was done. He was done, and that's how we converted. But the thing that I don't like about him, the reason I always say he's wait, I got this this is another soundbite. This is a community soundbite that I think the people actually want to hear. Let me just figure it out. Oh, who it is? Oh, yeah. So sometimes with William Lane Craig, people just wonder about him.
Idiot or willful piece of
Do you know Prophet Azad?
Yeah.
Yeah. He loves to go off on William Lane Craig.
articulate and confident way of saying the dumbest things.
So
he does say things in a really, like that look he gives, and it's very intellectual look that he has, like.
Yeah, and so that's what I don't like about him, is that I just think he sucks as a scholar, right? And he's got the look and all the pretense, but he's super dishonest. Like he knows all of this stuff is nonsense. And to be honest with you, I think he's just a soldier of God. Like, I think he's one of those people, like, he'll tell you, like, oh, I just believe because I've been convicted by the inner testimony of the Holy Spirit and I have a relationship with Jesus. But when we're in the public sphere arguing with atheists, I do think that our case is not without philosophical merit. And then he just starts doing this tap dance, right? Like, he'll go to, like, wanting to prove his historical stuff. And he'll be like, well, historians can't say this because of the historical commitment to naturalism. And then he'll be like, but I'm not a historian. And it's like, then shut the fuck up, William Lane Craig. like, honestly, here we go. William Lane Craig is smarmy in his voice. Half of his rhetoric is scoffing. Yeah, he's like Bart Ehrman. When Bart Ehrman gets that cackle going.
Yeah.
When he's talking about Mr.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can imagine that being annoying. Yeah. I never found him so. I think I know what UTB punk means, but I guess it never came across that way to me, but I can totally see.
Oh yeah, it gets me. I think I can't not see it. It's like everything he says just has the air about it. Now I have tried to make this clear though. The one thing about it, it's similar. I hate to say it, it's similar to Rebecca. I would have no problem hanging out with William Lane Craig. No problem having a beer with them, chilling over some burgers. And I tell him to his face, bro, you're a willfully ignorant piece of shit. But that's professionally, right? That's scholar to scholar. Yeah. Personally, like I said, he's honest about it. Even in his debates, he starts almost every time by saying, well, now I'm a Christian and this blam, and Jan, my wife, turned around and stole my heart for Jesus. And he does the whole thing. And so I'm like, he just said it right there. Yeah. He just told you.
That is true. Yeah.
So he's not like I don't think he's interpersonally like a dishonest human being. He's just doing his job. Yeah. He represents a particular type of, I don't even want to, he represents a particular type of scholarship that I don't particularly have a lot of admiration and respect for. But I think he's like amongst them. He's sort of like the model. And also I realized that, so like I taught this semester with this guy, Rob Pennock, right? And he wrote this book called Tower of Babel. And he actually was the expert witness in the trial called Kitzmiller versus Dover that established
Dover, I remember that.
Yeah, he established that intelligent design creationism isn't science, right? So it's an incredible honor to teach with somebody like that. Yeah. But he can draw this sort of history to like that whole movement before even like Dwayne Gish, right? He can tell you about the organization, like how Gish came about and the origins of the Gish Gallop, and he's got the names, the bodies, and he was, doing he was asked to be a witness because he was the person that was going back and forth with them in the academic journals. Like he was responding to them and then like publishing responses. And so that's why he was the witness. So he was there and he can trace that history directly to William Lane Craig, directly to the Ken Hams of the world. So as much as I despise those people, I recognize like who they are historically in the game, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? Like to me, William Lane Craig is like the leader of the new school. Like he comes directly out of that whole camp. He shows you how to build the apologetics empire. He has utilized the internet and the social media and the marketing, even the business model, right? Everybody else is still trying to be a YouTube star, still trying to sell books. William Lane Craig figured out, no, you got to have your own web space. Get your little membership, create your own little private little silo, build your business up from there, then do the other things and push everything back to your space. Like the man is on top of the game. Like there's no doubt about it. And so all of the apologists that we deal with, they go to bed at night wishing they could wake up and spend a day in William Lane Craig's shoes. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna, so I come at him like that because in a sense, it's a sign of respect, right? It's like, you deserve it, and you should be able to take it because you're the guy.
Go after the big one, right?
Yeah. I'm not picking on people smaller than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a PhD, bro. You're supposed to be able to handle it. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I don't think you're saying anything out of line or anything. Of course not. I'm just curious because you seem to like really.
Oh yeah, I like going in on them. I like going in.
Because it's funny because it's a bit ironic because William Lane Craig at least recently has come out as being pro-evolution, right? Believing that evolution.
Yeah, he is. And to be honest, he takes a stance on that I kind of took. Like I took the whole, it proves the Bible. Okay, maybe we got the order wrong, but it shows that God could use the evolutionary But I think that's so weak. Right? I hate to say this, but like there No Name, what's up, bro? You could hop in here. Wait, he might not know the link if he just joined in a minute. Hang on, let me put it back up. What was I gonna say? Oh, wait, what was I gonna say? Do you remember what we were talking about?
We were talking about evolution and William Lane Craig. And
right. I think it's weird because even though in some sense I'm supposed to be like, oh, yeah, it's good if they do that because then they're at least not evolution denying or whatever. I actually think the intelligent design, the creationist people, I think they're really onto it. Because to me, I think that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I think the people that are like, oh, well, we've got to just kind of give into this thing. And, oh, wait, this comment says it all, folks. This is my boy, YouTube Punk, coming through with the context, with the comments, with the most. 2 words. That's all you got to know. That's all you got to know, folks. Mytho history.
Is that a word he just gave? I like the TM. No, did you see that the most important part of the comment is the TM at the top?
The TM, yeah, the trademark. That comment is perfect. It's so good.
Yeah, mytho history. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, YouTube Punk.
Did he make up that word himself, or did he like take it from someone?
He says he got it from somewhere. I forget who he says he got it from, but he says he got it from somewhere. But here's my thing, right? I actually think that conceding to this naturalism stuff is a bad idea. Because one of the things I thought about is like I'm kind of a Christian atheist. By that I mean, one, I'm culturally Christian or whatever, but mostly that like that's also the only God I care about not existing. Like all the other versions are kind of just like whatever, sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And I think part of the reason is because of the creator claim. Right? Like to me, if God didn't create life, then he doesn't have power over life and death.
Yeah.
Right? Fundamentally. If life and species and humanity, if you can explain how humans got here, and you do not need God to explain how humans got here, right? Yeah. Then he is not the creator of our lives. And if he's not, then he doesn't have power over life and death, which means Jesus is nonsense, right? Because what is he saving you from? So I think, I hate to say it, as much as they're flat earthers to me, basically, right? Literally, they're flat earthers to me.
Better, maybe slightly.
Like, it's just like, eye roll, come on, guys. But at the same time, it's like, I get it. Yeah, I get it because they're holding on to the power, and I think everybody else is gone soft on it.
But is it really so hard to believe that, look, evolution happened, but God kind of directed it, or whatever they say, right? Like it's guided evolution, or guided naturalism.
I think you can go there, but then it gets to like I guess for me, that's just such like I said, it makes him the master of trial and error.
Yeah.
Like if that was his process, then what? Yeah. Like it just doesn't.
It doesn't seem right. Yeah. It just doesn't. It seems like you're kind of making up an explanation at that point.
Exactly. Because the godlike way is to just poof it. Is to just bam. Yeah. To be honest, I got to be honest with you. The one thing we should have known Genesis was crap because it really shouldn't have taken 7 days.
That's right. Yeah.
It should have just been like
that. Yeah.
Like there it is. Like what are we talking about? Well, let's say 6 days, right? Because he rested on it. Right, that's another thing. Why do he need rest? Yeah. He's infinitely probably should have been boof, and he's like, I could do another one, but this one's so perfect, But he shouldn't need rest. What is he tired?
Yeah.
How does he get
exhausted?
He had
to revise his work. He had to see that it was good before he continued, right? Like he's like, oh, should I? Like each day, like he does something, he makes something, and then he like looks at it and sees that it's good. Then he decides to continue, right? Like, doesn't he know it's going to be good? It's his own stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, like he's got to see how it plays out first, and. He sit back. Let me see. I might have to tweak things first. Oh no, the light's good. Okay, cool. Then we'll go to step 2 now. Yeah, it turns God into a tinkerer. Jim Cummins, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Good to have you. So glad you found the stream. It turns God into a tinkerer, and I think that's super, super weird. Cameron said he never worked before creation was exhausting. God doesn't work on albums. He just thinks them to drop them. Exactly, Jim. He just thinks it and it's on your Spotify already. You know what I'm talking about? Like, That's how it should go. So it's just funny that like I've really the more and more I learn, obviously the less and less I could tolerate something like young Earth creationism, but the more and more I actually try to take the theology seriously, the more I understand what's really at stake for them, and I kind of get it.
With the maximum of solipsism, that it is both the result and the cause of dangerous sexual repression.
Oh, sorry, I got to address this real quick. The only Omni Jehovah deserves is Omni incompetence. All right, so I was in somebody else's stream. Oh, Godless Granny. Shout out to Godless Granny. Go check out Godless Granny. And we came up with 3 new Omnis. So the first, mine was like, I think it was Omni genocidal or something. And then somebody else, it was like, wait. I put him in my phone.
Oh, genocidal.
I put him in my phone so I wouldn't forget. It was actually, it was funny enough. I was like, I need to put this in the old cellular device. All right, they were Omni ridiculous, Omni hypocritical, and Omni genocidal.
Have you seen that video of...
Those are the new Omnis.
Have you seen the video of the kill count between like God and Satan? It's like, you know...
Yes, the kill count. I think that's what inspired that whole thing was the kill count. I think that's what we were kind of going into. That's where the Omni genocidal came from. Like the kill count is just... There's just no rivals. There's just no rivals. Like...
You know, speaking of omnipotent, right? Like, you know that verse? Like, that video I found like a reference to like a verse I'd never heard of about how like God wasn't able to kill one of the tribes of Israelites they wanted to because they had chariots made of iron. Did you hear about that?
No.
So this is hilarious. Like, there's an actual verse where like God commands someone to go around killing all these other tribes, and he can kill all of them except this one tribe because their chariots are made of iron. So God like has no power.
Guy's just done. He's like, sorry. Y'all have found some metal I created that I just can't even handle.
Yeah.
Wait, and so that also is the answer to the whole like, can God create a rock so heavy he can't lift it? Apparently, he can create an element so tough he can't break through it. So we've finally solved that. Oh wait, here's one that I think goes overlooked. God is absolutely omni foreskin obsessed. There has never been a foreskin collector on the scale of Yahweh. You know,
well, more generally, he's really omni sex obsessed. Right?
He's definitely omni sex obsessed. But in this case, especially in honor of all this pro-life stuff, I gotta say, like, God just is obsessed with baby penises. And, you know, I got to be honest with you as a grown-ass man, I never really think about baby penises.
Well, you're not God, clearly.
Clearly I'm not holy enough.
He has morally sufficient reasons to be obsessed with baby penises.
Imagine God looking at the world he created and trying to click the edit undo menu.
Oh, no.
No name. Here's the link.
I better hop off.
You don't have to hop off. We can do a whole bunch of people in here.
And that it is ultimately grounded on wish thinking. I do not think it is arrogant of me to claim that I had already discovered these 4 objections, as well as noticed the more vulgar and obvious fact that religion is used by those in temporal charge to invest themselves with authority, before my boyish voice had broken. I am morally certain that millions of other people came to very similar conclusions in very much the same way. And I have since met such people in hundreds of places and in dozens of different countries. Many of them never believed, and many of them abandoned faith after a difficult struggle. Some of them had blinding moments of unconviction that were every bit as instantaneous, though perhaps less epileptic and apocalyptic, and later more rationally and more morally justified, than Saul of Tarsus on the Damascene road. And here is the point about myself and my co-thinkers. Our belief is not a belief. Our principles are not a faith. We do not rely solely upon science and reason, because these are necessary rather than sufficient factors, but we distrust anything that contradicts science or outrages reason. We may differ on many things, but what we respect is free inquiry, open-mindedness, and the pursuit of ideas for their own sake. We do not hold our convictions dogmatically. The disagreement between Professor Stephen Jay Gould and Professor Richard Dawkins concerning punctuated evolution and the unfilled gaps in post-Darwinian theory is quite wide, as well as quite deep. But we shall resolve it by evidence and reasoning, and not by mutual excommunication. My own annoyance at Professors Dawkins and Daniel Dennett for their cringe-making proposal that atheists should conceitedly nominate themselves to be called brights is a part of a continuous argument. We are not immune to the lure of wonder and mystery and awe. We have music and art and literature, and find that the serious ethical dilemmas are better handled by Shakespeare and Tolstoy, and Schiller and Dostoevsky and George Eliot, than in the mythical morality tales of the holy books. Literature, not scripture, sustains the mind, and since there is...
Just real quick, folks, I want to welcome No Name to the stream. Definitely held it down last night on Late-Night Counter-Apologetics with me. Go ahead and check that out. I think we had a good time, right?
I did.
Yeah, that was fun. I think people got to check that one out.
How's it going tonight, guys?
I think we're doing pretty good, man. He said, I think that is an interesting one. Hitch clearly thought we should continue to engage them in public and shared spaces. Yeah, I think he definitely did. And I think he would be very supportive of what we have going on in this YouTube community, especially where I think there's a lot of people on both sides that actually value the thing. And it's interesting that in some sense, I actually think our community really represents an actual shared space between theists and non-theists. I don't know if you would agree with this, guys, but I feel like I'll put it to you this way, right? I'm in like a GTA motorcycle club, right? And one of the things about that is there's a lot of rival clubs. Like we have a whole KOS list, right? Those are the clubs. Like if we see them, it's like kill on sight. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even though there are quote unquote enemies, our community would be nothing without them. So even though they're the quote unquote opponent, right, we need them. At the end of the day, there's somebody you play the game with, right?
Right.
And if they weren't playing the game,
I need Kirby Smart and Georgia to exist as much as that turns my stomach, right? Like the University of Georgia. But who else is Alabama going to play in the SEC championship or the national championship?
Precisely.
If Georgia didn't exist, we'd have to play Auburn.
And if it was even somebody y'all liked a little bit more, that wouldn't be nearly as fun as the mugs that you're like, no, kill them motherfuckers right now. Eat him right now, right? Because the rivalry is the whole point.
You cannot, I don't think it's possible for you to hate someone more than someone who is nearly identical to you in every single way but one, right? And that one way bothers the fuck out of you, right? Right? Like, I mean, to a Frenchman, he don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say the rivalry between the University of Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs, right? But internally, we fight like cats and dogs, even though we are nearly indistinguishable from one another from an outsider's perspective.
Right. We're all a bunch of like dudes hanging out on YouTube on the internet talking about religion on end for hours. Like all day, every day.
You develop frenemies. You become very close with people that you can't stand. Yeah.
What were you asking, Deepak?
Oh, have you guys seen that movie, The Life of Brian? Monty Python and the Life of Brian?
Yes.
Oh, I've seen clips from it.
Oh, you've
There's,
never
like,
seen the whole
No, I don't think
movie?
I've seen the whole
Jay,
thing.
it's good.
we
Yeah.
should
Oh, I have a
stream
copy.
that one night. That's a great.
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
a great
fun to
piece
do
of
like
satire.
a movie night
Watching
actually.
party. Yeah.
And I got that watch party app you can use, right? So people can join and actually watch the
Hell yeah.
watch party.
Well,
Yeah,
if
plus
you don't
that
know the scene
movie's
I'm
gotta
talking
be
about,
like
it's kind of hard to explain. But like, there's a scene where like they form a party called like the People's Front of Judea, right? So it's set in like, I guess, around 0 BC, right?
yeah, it's biblical times. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a political party called the People's Front of Judea, and then their biggest enemies are the what is it called? The Judean People's Front. So they end up fighting just instead of fighting the Roman Empire, they fight the Judean People's Front rather than the. Anyway, so,
Yeah. So hey, maybe we should. YouTube Punk said he'd be down with a watch party, so maybe we should start a. If you guys also one of the things I want to push on my channel is joining the Discord. So if you guys join my Discord, you could like put stuff like this in the chat, and then I'll be able to go back and like I'll remember it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, let's do this. So we could start like a movie list in the Discord, because that'd be that.
Oh, I'm a
definitely down to do that.
cinephile. I can probably
One
rattle
thing I
off
like about switching
half
over to
of it.
StreamYard is like it's real easy to stream. Like it's kind of I'm a big fan of this.
Nice. I got
yeah.
the reference, by the way, Deepak. Jay's a Philistine.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, at least there's one person. We'll get him to watch it.
No other metaphor, also the soul. We do not believe in heaven or hell, yet no statistic will ever find that without these blandishments and threats we commit more crimes of greed or violence than the faithful. In fact, if a proper statistical inquiry could ever be made, I'm sure the evidence would be the other way. We are reconciled to living only once, except through our children, for whom we are perfectly happy to notice that we must make way and room. We speculate that it is at least possible that once people accepted the fact of their short and struggling lives, they might behave better toward each other and not worse. We believe with certainty that an ethical life can be lived without religion, and we know for a fact that the corollary holds true, that religion has caused innumerable people not just to conduct themselves no better than others, but to award themselves permission to behave in ways that would make a brothel keeper or an ethnic cleanser raise an eyebrow. Most important of all, perhaps, we infidels do not need any machinery of reinforcement. We are those who Blaise Pascal took into account when he wrote to the one who says, "I am so made that I cannot believe." In the village of Montaillou, during one of the great medieval persecutions, a woman was asked by the inquisitors to tell them from whom she had acquired her heretical doubts about hell and resurrection. She must have known that she stood in terrible danger of a lingering death administered by the pious, but she responded that she took them from nobody, and had evolved them all by herself. Often you hear the believers praise the simplicity of their flock, but not in the case of this unforced and conscientious sanity and lucidity, which has been stamped out and burned out in the cases of more humans than we shall ever be able to name. There is no need for us to gather every day, or every 7 days, or on any high and auspicious day, to proclaim our rectitude or to grovel and wallow in our unworthiness. We atheists do not require any priests, or any hierarchy above them, to police our doctrine. Sacrifices and ceremonies are abhorrent to us, as are relics and the worship of any images or objects, even including objects in the form of one of man's most useful innovations, the bound book. To us no spot on earth is or could be holier than another. To the ostentatious absurdity of the pilgrimage, or the plain horror of killing civilians in the name of some sacred wall or cave or shrine or rock, we can counterpose a leisurely or urgent walk from one side of the library or the gallery to another, or to lunch with an agreeable friend in pursuit of truth or beauty. Some of these excursions to the bookshelf or the lunch or the gallery will obviously, if they are serious, bring us into contact with belief and believers, from the great devotional painters and composers to the works of Augustine, Aquinas, Maimonides, and Newman. These mighty scholars may have written many evil things or many foolish things, and been laughably ignorant of the germ theory of disease or the place of the terrestrial globe in the solar system, let alone the universe. And this is the plain reason why there are no more of them today, and why there will be no more of them tomorrow. Religion spoke its last intelligible or noble or inspiring words a long time ago. Either that, or it mutated into an admirable but nebulous humanism, as did, say, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a brave Lutheran pastor hanged by the Nazis for his refusal to collude with them. We shall have no more prophets or sages from the ancient quarter, which is why the devotions of today are only the echoing repetitions of yesterday, sometimes ratcheted up to screaming point so as to ward off the terrible emptiness. While some religious apology is magnificent in its limited way, one might cite Pascal, and some of it is dreary and absurd, here one cannot avoid naming C.S. Lewis, both styles have something in common, namely the appalling load of strain that they have to bear. How much effort it takes to affirm the incredible. The Aztecs had to tear open a human chest cavity every day, just to make sure that the sun would rise. Monotheists are supposed to pester their deity more times than that, perhaps lest he be deaf. How much vanity must be concealed, not too effectively at that, in order to pretend that one is the personal object of a divine plan? How much self-respect must be sacrificed, in order that one may squirm continually in an awareness of one's own sin? How many needless assumptions must be made, and how much contortion is required to receive every new insight of science, and then manipulate it?
How do you guys feel? Does this view make you feel squished? I heard somebody say that the other day on the stream, and I thought it was a funny comment. I actually, because I kind of could relate. I was like, I like this way better. Yeah, guys, join the Discord. I got to be honest with you guys. This whole YouTube thing is new to me. I'm really more of like a Twitch streamer. And so if you guys just kind of want to know what the whole vibe is, it's like on YouTube is where you're going to get videos, but mostly just streams because of the way I do things now, where it's like a program. It's like, oh, I do Hot Program with MyOneBlack Friend, or I do Late-Night Counter-Apologetics, or I do this series, and there's like a whole, you tune in and you watch it and it's a thing, and then it's over. If you join the Discord and like follow my Twitch, you'll get me like just live streaming during the week when I'm just like working or gaming or programming or working on music production or, you know, working on crazy just projects or playing drums or practicing for streams and stuff like that. So that's sort of the value of getting plugged into that community. You'll get notifications about all that kind of stuff, and kind of have the two communities kind of merging together. So, but yeah, definitely really enjoying this chapter. I'm gonna let Hitch keep going.
I just want to say we're the Venn diagram where stoner nerd meets counter-apologetics meets insomnia.
Yes. Amen. And y'all already know this man is rising in the church, fast on his way to deaconhood. Just really been a great MC. No name. I can't describe it any better. You know, I once thought to myself, like, I want to be the Snoop Dogg of the atheist community. Like, What was
smoking weed,
Johnny
being
Carson, wholly inappropriate?
What was Johnny Carson's sidekick's name?
I don't know. See how liberating that was? Because people know now that I smoke like that. I don't feel the pressure to remember things. I'm just like, yo, I'm high. I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, dog. I'm stoned as shit. And people are like, yeah, it's Jay. He's stoned as hell.
Jay, I embraced crowdsourcing my memory a long time ago.
Exactly.
And I also like to crowdsource.
You know who knows? Google knows.
Right. Yeah, Google knows. I like to crowdsource my wisdom too. I'll just
and look, we're not even lazy.
Something out and then people will draw meaning from it. It's fantastic.
We're not even lazy like that. We're not even those lame people who just Google all the answers to figure stuff out. We're the people who Google everything to figure all the answers out, but we have a Google employee on the stream. Who else you know is putting Google employees on prime time Sunday night? The atheist community. Google should have me give a talk about what I'm doing for their employees.
This is Jay's Google talk right now.
Jay's just trying to get me to bump up his view count. Like,
yeah, right. I need
pushing a few buttons on the server.
Yeah, bro. Let me have that Google talk real quick. Let me one of them Google talks that do us real good. I got student loan payments coming up when Joe Biden's forgiveness period is over. They're gonna be bone crushing.
Something out, right? Like if you want to talk about stuff you talk about,
like evolution and stuff. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, let me. Do you have my email? Like you should.
Yeah, I got your email. You know who I would actually? I'd actually bring a group. I got a group.
Organizes those kind of things, but I can probably figure it out.
Oh, that'd be sweet, man. That'd be sweet. I'd actually bring a couple of my science friends who would make much better use of the opportunity with me. Bring some I'll bring some of the heavy hitters. No, you know what's interesting? The stuff I'm working on, like the guy I work with now, he basically is evolving different forms of we sort of think of it as like intelligence, right? Instead of just doing basically he's doing projects where like we evolve stuff, and depending on the system, it's like we can plug in, say, a Cartesian genetic program versus like a recurring neural network versus like a Markov brain, and then he's kind of like analyzing like how the attributes of them, like he's making hybrids of them basically to figure out like why different types of structures are better at solving different types of problems. So it's stuff that I'm sure you guys would actually be
that's actually
interested
that
in.
Would even be, I think that would be more interesting, right?
Of course.
Like no, I mean I think normal like we always have like talks from people all over, like we have like celebrity chefs and like but what you're talking about is actually going to be interesting from a system design perspective.
Bro, if I come to Google, I'm coming to Google, dog. I'm not we're not gonna half step it, bro. That's the people I work with. Yeah, I'm gonna bring the real computational evolution people with me. Yeah.
But you should do it. You should do it as a caricature of that minister who had the really weird haircut and rapped and cussed a lot last night. You should do it as that character. It's very
the guy we was playing.
The one that he looked like he had the phone book instead of the Bible.
Y'all gotta watch Late-Night Counter-Apologetics from last night. Y'all see how good No Name is for the ministry? No Name knows for the callback. No Name knows. I gotta get the callback in. I gotta remind the viewer. They gotta watch the episode if they just missed it. No Name is on point.
You want to be on the inside of the inside joke.
No Name. We got pocket change is the currency, but when I get it figured out, I'm gonna hook you up with a huge bags and bags of pocket change.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and then we'll do like end of the month prizes or whatever. So like if you get the most, what I normally like to do was like whoever get the most points, like I would do a special stream and they could like take over. So basically like if you came in, it would be like if you came in like third place, you would, I think if it was like, we do something like if you came in second place, you'll do like a half hour. And then if you come in first place for the month, you'll do an hour and you could like tell me what to do on stream. You'd be like, I want you to talk about this or play this or make this or something. I'm like, all right, that's what we're doing. So just little stuff.
So if I won and I wanted to make you play Citizens of Catan in a duck suit for an hour, you would have
it has to be something I have access to. But if you could hook it up, then yeah. If you could get me like an online version or something that I could stream, yeah, like whatever.
Oh,
like,
no, I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't go through any actual effort to do. I'm more of a conceptual guy. But you know what I'm saying. Like, conceptually speaking.
Yeah.
If you had access to those
get them fat stacks.
Yeah.
Like you got going in the plate. All right, let me see. Let's get back to my man Hitch.
Fit with the revealed words of ancient man-made deities. How many saints and miracles and councils and conclaves are required in order first to be able to establish a dogma and then, after infinite pain and loss and absurdity and cruelty, to be forced to rescind one of those dogmas? God did not create man in his own image. Evidently it was the other way about, which is the painless explanation for the profusion of gods and religions, and the fratricide both between and among faiths that we see all about us, and that has so retarded the development of civilization. Past and present religious atrocities have occurred not because we are evil, but because it is a fact of nature that the human species is biologically only partly rational. Evolution has meant that our prefrontal lobes are too small, our adrenal glands are too big, and our reproductive organs apparently designed by committee, a recipe which, alone or in combination, is very certain to lead to some unhappiness and disorder. But still, what a difference when one lays aside the strenuous believers and takes up the no less arduous work of a Darwin, say, or a Hawking or a Crick. These men are more enlightening when they are wrong, or when they display their inevitable biases, than any falsely modest person of faith, who is vainly trying to square the circle and to explain how he, a mere creature of the Creator, can possibly know what that Creator intends. Not all can be agreed on matters of aesthetics, but we secular humanists and atheists and agnostics do not wish to deprive humanity of its wonders or consolations. Not in the least. If you will devote a little time to studying the staggering photographs taken by the Hubble telescope, you will be scrutinizing things that are far more awesome and mysterious and beautiful, and more chaotic and overwhelming and forbidding, than any creation or end of days story. If you read Hawking on the event horizon, that theoretical lip of the black hole over which one could in theory plunge and see the past and the future, except that one would regrettably, and by definition, not have enough time, I shall be surprised if you can still go on gaping at Moses and his unimpressive burning bush. If you examine the beauty and symmetry of the double helix, and then go on to have your own genome sequence fully analyzed, you will be at once impressed that such a near-perfect phenomenon is at the core of your being, and reassured, I hope, that you have so much in common with other tribes of the human species, race having gone, along with creation, into the ash can, and further fascinated to learn how much you are a part of the animal kingdom as well. Now at last you can be properly humble in the face of your Maker, which turns out not to be a who, but a process of mutation with rather more random elements than our vanity might wish. This is more than enough mystery and marvel for any mammal to be getting along with. The most educated person in the world now has to admit, I shall not say confess, that he or she knows less and less, but at least knows less and less about more and more. As for consolation, since religious people so often insist that faith answers this supposed need, I shall simply say that those who offer false consolation are false friends. In any case, the critics of religion do not simply deny that it has a pain-killing effect. Instead, they warn against the placebo.
Those who offer false consolations are false friends. That's another line that when I heard it...
And the bottle of colored water.
That's another line that when I heard it, it just really had a very heavy impression on me because it definitely made me think of like that whole neediness scale and the fact that like sometimes I don't know how to put my frustration in words because like I've even tried to ask certain believers like matter of fact, I think this is a good exercise and I'm willing to hear that it's not, but I think it's good to ask Christians like, does it matter to you if it's true or not? And on pain of death, just listen after, right? And just hear how they respond to it. But I honestly think that kind of helps me with the people who it's like, for me, I'm not particularly welcoming of the idea of somebody comforting me with something that's not true, right? And I'm sure that it's happened before. I'm sure people have told me I look handsome in outfits I look ridiculous in, and people will say they enjoy the stream if they think it's boring sometimes. Like some people are nice and generous and whatever, and that's a part of life too. But I think especially when it is in those times when somebody really, really does need something, I think it's especially kind of tragic. And I think I'd rather have somebody that was just trying to like comfort me and maybe just be there with me and support me through something really hard rather than like trying to give me some kind of false hope.
Yeah, I mean, just being there is support, right? Like you don't have to make up a story, you know.
Are you married?
Me, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought of this random example. If you just like, if your wife just left you randomly, no, and you just like, and you just came out here, and you're just like, and I would just be like, yeah, like you could stay here, bro. Like it's not gonna be it's just like I don't have company. Like it might be whatever, but like you're fine here, you know. And it's like I wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it'd be like if you need a friend right now, like
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly, right? You don't have to know. Like some people know what to say, but even those who don't, you can just be there, right? Like just sitting there. Like sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you don't need more.
Go ahead, No Name.
Oh, I'm shit. I'm sorry. I thought I was muted. I was humming James Taylor. Oh shit! It's You Got a Friend.
Yeah. That's a classic.
Sorry.
I'm actually a big James Taylor fan.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
My mom used to sing me "Sweet Baby James."
I just think he's one of the great. Thank you for being a friend. There you go. That's another smash banger. In matter of fact, I like the original one. Not the Golden Girls theme song, but the original that's based on.
That's not an original.
Yeah,
tune?
no, theirs is like they had like a female voice redo it for the show, but the original is done by a band. It's super good. I want to say Eli Gould or something. Let me look at Thank You for Being a Friend. Let's see.
Well, Eli Gould was an actor in like the
Andrew Gold. Andrew Gold. I messed it up. Andrew Gold. That's it. Nah, it's a banger. I would play it, but it'll definitely probably get a copyright strike. So
I'll look it up later.
But
or if you've got
they're
YouTube
both good.
link,
That's the thing I'm saying. Like the Golden Girls theme is a classic for sure. Like I'm not gonna front. Like that's an epic song. I'm just saying it's the gift that keeps on giving. Because then when I found the original, I was like, wait, this kind of smashes though.
Nice.
9 Inch Nails. What? What?
I like me.
I mean, I like sure, great band. But I don't know. I don't get the reference.
When I was a kid, I think I probably stole about $150 worth of CDs from what was that company? Random House. They'd have this deal where if you sent this little clipping back in the mail with a penny, you'd get a CD sent to you in the mail, and you got to keep it, but then they would keep sending you more and you'd have to send them back. Well, I think I was 13, 14 years old. I didn't know that. So I just thought I was getting all these free CDs in the mail.
Oh, no.
And then they started calling me and I was like, I don't know what you're going to do about it. I'm 14. You didn't check my age. You didn't verify anything. What do you want? You want these CDs back? Come and get them. And they were like, oh well.
Damn,
I mean, it's
crazy.
true.
It'd have been a whole thing these days.
What's that?
I said that'd have been a whole ordeal these days.
Yeah, I don't know why on earth they thought that was a good idea.
Things were just more open, like crazy. It should just happen back then. Like now, you know, I think part of it is just the automation of everything, right? Like it's just there's a system that just keeps track of every little thing now, and so there's no more of that person who just goes, yeah, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like the machine can afford to care about every single little detail as though, you know what I mean? Like it's like when you get a medical bill for like $8 or something. It's like, well, it doesn't cost them anything to, you know, track it or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm lying. I live in America. You will never get a medical bill for $8.
I had an unpaid medical bill one time for $34, and it actually I had to go pay it before I could get a loan. I was like, "What the hell are you talking about? I have full insurance. Why would I owe $34?" I don't know. They couldn't explain it, so I wouldn't pay it.
Co-pays or something.
Oh, you're lucky it didn't tank your credit report.
Yeah, that's the real. Yeah, that's the thing that could really happen to you. That you gotta watch out
Oh
for.
yeah, it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever looked at an itemized bill for what your insurance company paid for the services you got at a hospital?
They just come up with random numbers. They come up with a
Basically.
random number and another
Yeah.
big random number, and they subtract it. And
Yeah, they're just pushing paper around to each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's a scam. It's a racket.
Napster
It's like
traumatized
basically
me growing up because I was a big Metallica fan, so I was responding to the comment.
Oh, what was the comment?
It said R.I.P. Napster and Kazaa, and I said Napster traumatized me because I was a big Metallica fan, and then when they started going at the Napster, that had me between a rock and a hard place as a fan.
did you see that?
I felt absolutely no remorse for
I
downloading
didn't
a song
either,
from
but
a
I didn't like
billionaire.
Metallica. I didn't feel like feeling like my favorite band was pissed at me either. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I mean, if any of these bands had cashed in on all that shit early, they would have figured out that all that getting that free music out there did was increase their fan base, so that more people showed up at their concerts.
and eventually they realized they weren't making shit on records anyway. So
Right.
Right. For a band like Metallica, it doesn't matter because everyone knows Metallica, right? Like it's for
Right.
small bands where I think that kind of stuff really makes a difference. And you're right.
My little brother's in a small band, and he gives as much of his music away as people will take.
Yeah, because that's going to build up his.
exactly,
Yeah.
his name, get his stuff out there.
Yeah,
and then you can
exactly.
do shows and
Metallica,
merch.
Did you see that album that came out like last year?
Speaking of which, no, I was just gonna ask: does anybody, and maybe even in the chat, know of like the people who like do the graphics and stuff for the YouTube channels? If you do, like, let me know, because
Nathan knows somebody. Nathan had a friend make.
oh yeah, I can ask Nathan. That's a good recommendation. Actually, it's a good call.
But there
What
was
were you gonna say?
album
Go ahead.
that came out last year. It was like the 30-year anniversary of the Black Album or something, right? So,
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That actually was exciting because they were doing like the late night circuit and stuff.
Yeah. So they had like this album of like all these bands covering like every song on the Black Album. So they had like 6 different versions of each song, right? It was awesome. It's really good. You should check it out. They had
You've heard it?
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. You can get it on like Spotify or whatever.
All right. I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, I didn't. I saw them do like Jimmy Kimmel or something, but I don't think I actually listened to the album.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm gonna let Hitch go.
Probably the most popular misquotation of modern times, certainly the most popular in this argument, is the assertion that Marx dismissed religion as the opium of the people. On the contrary, this son of a rabbinical line took belief very seriously and wrote, in his contribution to the critique of Hegel's philosophy of right, as follows: "Religious distress is at the same time the expression of real distress and the protest against real distress. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world. Just as it is the spirit of a spiritless situation, it is the opium of the people. The abolition of religion as the illusory happiness of the people is required for their real happiness. The demand to give up the illusions about its condition is the demand to give up a condition that needs illusions. The criticism of religion is therefore in embryo the criticism of the veil of woe, the halo of which is religion. Criticism has plucked the imaginary flowers from the chain, not so that man will wear the chain without any fantasy or consolation, but so that he will shake off the chain and cull the living flower. So, the famous misquotation is not so much a misquotation, but rather a very crude attempt to misrepresent the philosophical case against religion. Those who have believed what the priests and rabbis and imams tell them about what the unbelievers think, and about how they think, will find further such surprises as we go along. They will perhaps come to distrust what they are told, or not to take it on faith, which is the problem to begin with. Marx and Freud, it has to be conceded, were not doctors or exact scientists. It's better to think of them as great, infallible, imaginative essayists. When the intellectual universe alters, in other words, I don't feel arrogant enough to exempt myself from self-criticism. And I am content to think that some contradictions will remain contradictory. Some problems will never be resolved by the mammalian equipment of the human cerebral cortex, and some things are indefinitely unknowable. If the universe was found to be finite or infinite, either discovery would be equally stupefying and impenetrable to me, And though I have met many people much wiser and more clever than myself, I know of nobody who could be wise or intelligent enough to say differently. Thus, the mildest criticism of religion is also the most radical and the most devastating one. Religion is man-made. Even the men who made it cannot agree on what their prophets or redeemers or gurus actually said or did. Still less can they hope to tell us the meaning of later discoveries and developments which were, when they began, either obstructed by their religions or denounced by them. And yet...
Folks, the hits just keep on coming. Oh my goodness. The boy Tux TV is in the house. What's up, Tux?
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good evening, Dupac.
Hey, Tux. What's going on?
Hey, Tux.
No name. Cheers.
Cheers, brother. What you got over? You got something over there? You got something to drink over there?
I had a tasty beverage earlier, but I could pour myself some bourbon. I had a Prairie Path Ale from Two Brothers earlier tonight. Made
How was
some
that?
ribs
What's that
on the
sound
grill.
like? What is that? What's that?
It's a local brew in Warrenville,
Where's
Illinois.
that from?
Yeah, Warrenville, Illinois. How's audio levels, by the way?
Good.
Sound good.
Yeah, and they took over the old Walter Payton's restaurant in Aurora, Illinois. That was pre-COVID, so I don't know if that restaurant survived COVID's.
Sure,
honestly.
sure.
So
Aurora is next
excellent.
to Naperville, right? I think I had cousins.
Yes,
in Naperville.
very, very close. In fact, much of the farmland in between Aurora and Naperville was annexed by Naperville because it's just Naperville grows so fast. They made a list about 12 years ago as like the number 2 place to live in the States.
Yeah, I remember that because I had cousins who I think they still live there, and I used to visit them a lot. This was like more than 15 years ago, though, and Naperville is like the hot neighborhood in Chicago.
Naperville it had an excellent downtown. It had like a mini Chicago downtown, a river walk, and a little bit of arts and culture, but not much. It's got a small college incorporated into downtown as well, and just a nice little place. And I live in a little more of a Christian coalition town, Wheaton, just north of Naperville.
A Christian coalition town. I feel like for some reason I know exactly what that's like. This is terrible.
I do
Sure
know exactly what that's like.
Yep. And that's the home of Wheaton College, which is the alma mater for William Lane Craig.
Oh yeah, we were talking about Dr. Craig earlier. And his conversion to atheism.
From atheism. William Lane Craig converted finally. He's going to be on our side.
Yes.
Are we sure we want him? Like, does that sound like a plant to anyone?
I mean, we can take it, but then we'll trade it to the Hindus, I guess, at some point.
What happened?
Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's explanatory or not.
You know what we should do? We should have
Brilliant.
like a religion draft, like the
Yes.
chat.
Yes, I've seen one that was like a worship leader draft. I thought that was great. So yeah, like a religion draft would be dope. I want all the sexy people that make the big bucks. You know, like you gotta get your heavy hitters, your empire builders. You know, because if you go with the hardcore believers, you know that's not really that much fun.
Yeah.
I think the jet setters, the guys with the arenas.
Oh yeah,
you know,
Joel
that's,
Osteen and
yeah,
stuff.
that's the
Oh,
way
yeah.
to go. That's the life.
Of course, yeah.
You know, I hate to say it's like my mom goes to a mega church, and it's definitely the way to go. They have valet parking. What? They have an orchestra. Like whatever you thought the big church in your neighborhood cost, they got that in auxiliary sound equipment for the overflow. Like,
You had me at valet parking. That's
they have it's not a game. Like, they legit have valet parking. Like,
really, of course.
We
Yeah,
have churches here in Alabama that have their own professional police force.
see Alabama on that next level shit. I gotta admit, I admire that right there. That is full on commitment right there.
When you live in the buckle of the Bible Belt, you know.
Where exactly are you, Nani?
So,
Scientists have been stunned by the
speaking
discovery.
of scientists being stunned by the discovery, apparently Dr. Craig, who we are just so thankful. You know what? I'm even willing to thank my main man, Jesus, for William Lane Craig pulling through that recent bout with COVID. But I'm sure when it hit him and he thought he was going, and in his last moments, the cumulative case for the flying man was overwhelming. And I'm sure he just said, "There's no God."
The omniscience of Pine Creek. And
nature is all there
the
is.
flying man.
There is nothing beyond matter and energy. There is no supernatural reality.
You know what? You know why also I want William Lane Craig? I got to admit to people, William Lane Craig, people have heard a lot of Dr. Craig quotes, but you know what I love about the soundboard? The soundboard is like sampling. Like when you're a producer, you know, and you go crate digging, you know, when you go to the old record store and you go up in the attic and it's all dusty and you're digging through the crates and then you got to take them back and you got to find that perfect sample. I've actually found something that doesn't come up in the cosmological argument. You know, it's not even.
We have a powerful cumulative case.
To be honest, that was a very hard sample to find. I think that is actually the William Lane Craig special. Like for me, the cumulative case is like the ultimate William Lane Craig sample. But really, people sleep on his most profound argument. He said something one time that was just so. Yeah, I heard he's home now, resting, and Jan is resting. I had to leave Jan alone. You know. Normally, I keep Jan up all night long, but she's been a little raspy with the COVID, so I left her alone for a little bit.
Fair.
But I'm gonna play a clip for you guys, and I just want to say that this is the most profound and deep William Lane Craig quote, and you're welcome.
There are no married bachelors.
Fucking brilliant.
There's no married bachelors.
Unbelievable. I think the dishes fell. The shit fell in the kitchen because the quote was so profound that things are falling over.
As they're wont to do.
Unbelievable.
The believers still claim to know. Not just to know, but to know everything. Not just to know that God exists and that he created and supervised the whole enterprise, but also to know what he demands of us. From our diet, to our observances, to our sexual morality. In other words, in a vast and complicated discussion, where we know more and more about less and less, yet can still hope for some enlightenment as we proceed, one faction, itself composed of mutually warring factions, has the sheer arrogance to tell us that we already have all the essential information we need. Such stupidity, combined with such pride, should be enough on its own to exclude belief from the debate. The person who is certain and who claims divine warrant for his certainty belongs now to the infancy of our species. It may be a long farewell, but it has begun and, like all farewells, should not be protracted. I trust that if you met me you would not necessarily know that this was my view. I have probably sat up later and longer with religious friends than with any other kind. These friends often irritate me by saying that I am a seeker, which I am not, or not in the way they think. If I went back to Devon, where Mrs. Watts has her unvisited tomb, I would surely find myself sitting quietly at the back of some old Celtic or Saxon church. Philip Larkin's lovely poem, Church-Going, is the perfect capture of my own attitude. I once wrote a book about George Orwell, who might have been my hero if I had heroes, and was upset by his callousness about the burning of churches in Catalonia in 1936. Sophocles showed well before the rise of monotheism that Antigone spoke for humanity in her revulsion against desecration. I leave it to the faithful to burn each other's churches and mosques and synagogues, which they can always be relied upon to do. When I go to the mosque, I take off my shoes. When I go to the synagogue, I cover my head. I once even
What's up, Jimmy?
Hi, I'm just listening. And sometimes you got to listen in to maybe reason with people. And, talk about George Orwell. He's a lovely, interesting guy from the United Kingdom. And unfortunately, you can put me backstage or whatever you wish to do, but I really don't give two fucks. Yeah, thank you, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, there, son, you really can't say okay. It's either okay or maybe be nice to people. So maybe people who try to be nice with you without being like maybe, and just maybe saying something simple like, oh, okay. Please try and be nice to people without, unfortunately, trying to be maybe someone different. I mean,
I think what we have here is a failure to communicate.
Well,
I mean, some people just can't be reached.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness.
What? What was he saying?
I think they're always after his Lucky Charms.
I don't
my
know.
goodness.
I don't know. But he earned himself a very quick ban. So, I wanted to keep it open. I don't want to be too sensitive. I want to hear a man out, but I will ban a person. It's kind of weird doing my own mod stuff. Getting into the mod stuff. I'm not a good person. I start smoking that weed and drinking a little bit. I'll probably be like, I don't like the way this person looks. Banned.
The pimp hand comes out. I understand. The pimp hand reflex is strong.
Exactly.
The weird thing is,
especially unmoderated,
he has a podcast.
The setup was gorgeous.
Yeah,
I was like, you're getting in on setup alone. Like
3K
maybe
subs.
High, maybe he's just high. Like,
yeah, he's
setup.
Yeah.
He is blowed out of his mind.
And
I think we should invite him back when he's slightly sober.
Yeah,
so slightly.
Exactly. He can petition for an unban once coherent and I'm full of grace.
It has been a while since I've seen that movie that you got the clip from.
YouTube Punk said it'll be a mod. That's dope. We need we need mods. Yeah, that's dope. I'll just definitely tune in the next couple streams, and I'll get the currency and the mod stuff going. I'll get back on my proper what streamers do. I'll implement the things I've learned from twitching for all these years.
Twitching sounds like some weird drug culture reference.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. You're good. I just think Tux was going to say something, right?
I was just going to say the reference to our sexual references that Hitchens was making there. You have to imagine that the church is willing to die on the hill of anything that has to do with their version of sex. And the point that Hitch is making there is, he's willing to compromise. When he goes to a mosque, he takes off his shoes. When he goes to a synagogue or a temple, he takes off. He covers his head. He's willing to fulfill some of these traditions and be respectful for them, but that is not reciprocal.
Yeah, I kind of I did a you remember the birthday bash for the unborn, right?
Oh yeah.
And kind of in my opening monologue for that was kind of my point about why it was important to pay attention to politics and all this. That if people ask me the question of like why to pay attention to politics in this space where we're, really we just want to talk about religion. We want to trash on theists, and why are we talking about politics? I notice there's like almost this aversion in the atheist community to talking about politics. And I'm like, because they're coming to take your shit. Mm-hmm. That's why. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like your freedom is something that they have no interest or concern about. And unlike your leaders who were like, you want 10, oh, you know what? I'd love to give you $50,000 in student loan debt relief. You know what? I could sign up for $10,000 in student loan debt relief. Oh, did I just get elected? Oh, is it my first press conference? Nah, I'm not going to do student loan debt relief. Sorry, did you think we were actually going to do that? Right? And then they're like, Donald Trump is like, I will only appoint pro-life Supreme Court justices. And they're like, oh, word? Hold on. Sorry, Obama, you got a year left? Nah, you can't nominate a judge with a year left. Sorry, we got to save that for our Republican. And then Trump is like, yup, here's a pro-life justice. Oh, what? I'm about to leave? What? I've been impeached twice? Don't matter. Amy Coney Barrett, quit playing around. Girl, I told you stop playing around with that cult on week. It's about to put you on the Supreme Court. You ain't got time for messing around with that cult stuff. Come on, girl. Get on the Supreme Court, right? And now they like 5-4, and they like, what? Oh, y'all, they just elected the black lady. Y'all, a black lady about to come up in here? She gonna come up here. You know she about to bring some fried chicken and watermelon and grape soda up into
she
the
gonna be the
Court.
Oprah Winfrey of abortion. She's gonna be like, you get an abortion.
Exactly. So they were like, nah, check this. Look, before she even get up in here, let's just overturn Roe v. Wade like right now. Why are we even waiting? Look, let's draft it up right now, before she even get in here. Yep. Look, y'all, stop sleeping on these people.
Well, I'm actually surprised Roberts would go along with the Christian Coalition version of the Supreme Court, just because he's pretty staunch on the Constitution part of it. It wouldn't be his personal beliefs. He would go more towards whatever. So what if there is, and he is voting for it, then it's got to be something that's constitutional.
Yeah, but I mean, the right has always believed, I mean, maybe they're even somewhat justified in this, right? That whatever you think about abortion, like the Constitution, like what is it, like the right to, like, when Roe v. Wade was first decided, right? It basically followed from the right to privacy or whatever, which is, not actually listed out in the Constitution, but was, believed to be implied by it.
Yeah, that's the thing that I actually noticed, Deepak. I haven't read the thing, but this came up on Hot Program earlier. I was saying that seems to be the tact, is that it didn't explicitly protect this.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe he can argue that that's technically the case, I guess, somehow. I'm with you on the fact that it's surprising, because I think life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness should imply a whole bunch of stuff that, and I got to say something else about this whole thing. And I got to just keep it 100 with you guys, because that's what this space is for, right? I'm going to just be honest with you. I don't give a rat's ass about the Constitution. The founders thought that I was 3/5 of a human being.
Yeah,
that's right.
So when people sit around trying to debate what they originally intended, I was like, if I was there, I would have originally intended to take one of them chairs. Y'all already know I'm a WWE man. Whoops, upside their heads, okay? And it would have been, we'd have just been rallying, taking them muskets, going Los Santos on all of them, okay? Some real GTA type of shit it would have been if I was up there, the slave revolt or whatever it would have been. So I literally, I had this joke with this my friend I was hanging out with the other day. I told her, like, what I say? I said, literally, I would make a joke that I would roll weed up with the Constitution and smoke it. That's how worthless it is to me. But it's literally not a good rolling paper. Like it's not even a good rolling paper. It wouldn't be good toilet paper. It's literally worthless to me. And then I
No,
joked.
the trick with the Constitution is you got to dab some honey on it and a little Hennessy.
Yeah, you gotta juice it up.
You gotta juice it up, and then you gotta, roll your blunt and then put it in the microwave.
So I joked that, honestly, I hate to say this, but in that sense, I think the Bible is more useful to me than the Constitution.
It is.
Okay, but I was joking. I've never actually smoked with a piece of the Bible. She said she has, and that the Bible rolls good. The Bible's a good smoke.
I have heard Gideon's Bible has some blank pages on the back, just in case.
It's really smooth.
So that's my honest feeling about the Constitution, y'all. Go ahead, Deepak.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as you. I would definitely I would say that the Constitution. I mean, I don't think it should be like the Bible, right? It's not like a sacred document we should worship just because it existed. Like it was written like 300 years ago. It's a useful document to tell us what our contract with ourselves is, right, as a society.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that needs updating when things change. When when the founders, they were smart guys, but we think about things differently. We don't think that a black man is only worth 3/5 of a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Other things, right? So that's the part that I don't get, this obsession with not just the Constitution, but what the original intent of the Constitution was, right? Who the fuck cares? We change it when what we think society should changes, right?
Yeah, and on a practical sense, I don't think it's going anywhere, and I think it's good. But I've actually sometimes envied some of the European countries. And I think part of that is not only are they more progressive and liberal in their politics in general, but they also have more recent constitutions that reflect more recent values. And our insistence on our, OG version is kind of a little just ridiculous. And then also it's really weird that we have this mix of when we want to count precedent and when we don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or basically.
Or which precedent matters. And it's just so arbitrary.
If you read the opinion, right, the elite, I haven't
read
it.
You got up in it. Let's go, Deepak.
No, I was saying from what I read, I haven't read the whole
Sure.
But the leaked draft of Alito's opinion, right?
Yeah.
It's really scary. What he says is basically, well, if you don't have something that's actually listed out explicitly in the Constitution, then the only way you can say that it's implied by the Constitution, it's still a right that should be protected, is if it's embedded in America's historical values, right? But that's so open to interpretation. Could mean anything to anybody, right? For Alito, it's no abortions and maximal guns and stuff, right? For somebody else, it's the opposite, right? Who gets to decide? Just 9 people.
Right, exactly. And this is kind of a good point too. It goes back to what I was saying before. Edit menu just doesn't seem to be a big part of God's plan. Weird versioning is hard.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that the problem is the same people. I think that it's because we have the same people who hold the Bible as sacred that are such a lion's share of our electorate. They think it makes sense. And then you sometimes even hear leftists and liberal people, secular, quote unquote, secular people talking about the Constitution as sacred. And I'd be like, bad move.
Yeah.
Bad. There's just no need for that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess consistency is a good thing, right? Knowing that there is some kind of
Yeah, and I mean, metaphorically, it doesn't even really bother me. It just only bothers me because there's so many people who
use it as a
don't know better, right? It's if we all understood it to be poetry, it'd be fine, right? But when
I don't know if I'd go that far again. I think it's useful to be able to interpret the Constitution in some kind of legal sort of.
No, I meant the if we all understood the sacred text or whatever to be poetry when we refer to, or when we refer to the civil system as the people's temple and stuff like that. It's fine as just public speech that's cut the ribbon and kiss the babies or whatever.
Yeah. Imagine how anyway, whatever. I think we've discussed this enough. Yeah, sure.
So we got some programmers in here. Cache and validation breaks some previous assumptions, but not all. Having to reevaluate assumptions is hard when all you want to do is move heavy shit faster and cheaper.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not sure how the connection, like, are we talking about?
Yeah, let's get back to the
observed the etiquette of an ashram in India.
But thanks, Jim. We appreciate you, brother.
My parents did not try to impose any religion. I was probably fortunate in having a father who had not especially loved his strict Baptist Calvinist upbringing, and a mother who preferred assimilation, partly for my sake, to the Judaism of her forebears. I now know enough about all religions to know that I would always be an infidel at all times and in all places, but my particular atheism is a Protestant atheism. It is with the splendid liturgy of the King James Bible and the Cranmer Prayer Book, liturgy that the fatuous Church of England has cheaply discarded, that I first disagreed. When my father died and was buried in a chapel overlooking Portsmouth, the same chapel in which General Eisenhower had prayed for success the night before D-Day in 1944, I gave the address from the pulpit and selected as my text a verse from the Epistle of Saul of Tarsus, later to be claimed as St. Paul, to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. I chose this because of its haunting and elusive character, which will be with me at the last hour, and for its essentially secular injunction, and because it shone out from the wasteland of rant and complaint, and nonsense and bullying which surrounds it. The argument with faith is the foundation and origin of all arguments, because it is the beginning, but not the end, of all arguments about philosophy, science, history, and human nature. It is also the beginning, but by no means the end, of all disputes about the good life and the just city. Religious faith is, precisely because we are still evolving creatures, ineradicable. It will never die out, or at least not until we get over our fear of death, and of the dark, and of the unknown, and of each other. For this reason, I would not prohibit it, even if I thought I could. Very generous of me, you may say. But will the religious grant me the same indulgence, I ask, because there is a very real and serious difference between me and my religious friends, and the real and serious friends are sufficiently honest to admit it. I would be quite content to go to their children's bar mitzvahs, to marvel at their Gothic cathedrals, to respect their belief that the Quran was dictated, though exclusively in Arabic, to an illiterate merchant, or to interest myself in Wicca and Hindu and Jain consolations. And as it happens, I will continue to do this without insisting on the polite reciprocal condition, which is that they in turn leave me alone. But this religion is ultimately incapable of doing. As I write these words, and as you read them, people of faith are in their different ways planning your and my destruction, and the destruction of all the hard-won human attainments that I have touched upon. Religion poisons everything. Chapter 2.
All right, folks, we made it. We did it. We did it. Nailed it. Killed
I could listen to that man read the telephone book.
I know. It's so good. It's so good. But I think there's like 8 chapters or something. I don't know. So I'm just going to do one a week or whatever till we get through the thing. I figured it was a good way to get some extra content up in addition to Late-Night Counter-Apologetics. Yeah, I was super excited to do this. I've been looking forward to this all weekend, actually. Religion poisons everything. That's the thing. So yeah, like at this point, like I'm just, the room's open if anybody wants to come in and give their thoughts, their feedback. We'll also keep an eye on the chat and try to engage with what you guys are talking about in the chat. But a couple things that I definitely have been thinking about in the last couple minutes here. I think his closing point that Tux was talking about highlighting, just in how just sort of unyielding religion tends to be. And in some sense, it's not even necessarily towards their adversaries. It's sort of unyielding in the life of a believer, right? Like, you're always supposed to be, in some sense, it would be better if more of you was devoted to your faith, right? Like, it'd almost be like ridiculous to expect someone to not vote according to their religious beliefs, because that's like a pretty easy way to, like, you know, it's a relatively simple one to get right, if you will, so to speak, right? Like, you've got one simple little vote, you know, just vote the quote unquote right way. And so I think even trying to be charitable, that's a reasonable thing. And sort of also then to get at what Jim is talking about, and I'll read this last quote here. Yeah, if you believe your views to be based, then when someone asks you to rebase, it causes some work you didn't have to do before. People feel inconvenienced at best, threatened at worst. Yeah. One of the things I've been thinking about is how, like, why times a lot of Christians don't read the Bible. And a lot of times it's like, why should I have to? Right? It's like the purpose of that is to get me to believe and have faith in Jesus and come to know him and be saved and have a personal relationship. Well, if I have that, and I, like, you know, flip through the pages when the preacher man's talking on Sunday, then, like, why should I go home and study it? It's like a tool for something. It's a tool to you know, fix a problem I don't have, essentially, I think. And so we sometimes come at it like, well, why don't you guys go home and read your Bible? Why don't you know there's all these inconsistencies in there? And they're like, nah, bro, I signed up for Team Jesus. I'm straight. Like, what are you thinking, Tuggs?
There's a saying I heard about the Church of Christ, which is what I was raised in, that the Church of Christ is willingly answering the 10,000 questions nobody's actually asking.
Right.
That sounds about right.
So you can go home, read your Bible. It doesn't make a difference, because some apologist is going to attempt to mold your mind to their favor.
Whoa.
Nigger.
Wait, why did it why does it keep unmute? It keeps, oh my goodness. I have to, like, actually, like, he can unmute himself. So if, like, I was, like, muting him, he'd, like, unmute himself.
Wow.
This is, I kind of love it, because StreamYard makes it easy for these random people to find your thing. And I think there's, like, a thing, I guess I could hear them in the backstage or whatever, but whatever. But yeah, I think that's the whole deal, right? Like, the whole deal is to just, I don't, what do you guys think? You think it's a distraction? Or sometimes I actually think it's more like there's a genuine sort of indoctrination, of course, hang on, let's go.
Indoctrinate children.
There's like a genuine indoctrination that these are the issues that matter. And that, because you ever get that impression, like
it's for Jesus.
Yeah, like even as
we got to do this for Jesus. This is Jesus's word. Jesus really didn't send these things that are contained within this holy text, and it's really old. And he hasn't come out with Jesus, 2.0, Jesus 2.15, Jesus version.
Well, there were a couple of sequels that we don't talk about, like Mormonism, right? Like
right,
that weird
Mormons,
that weird Joseph Smith spin-off reboot thing he did in the 1800s. We don't talk about.
That's all like fan fiction, right? That's just fan fiction. Yeah.
Gabriel's Allah version 2.0. Mormonism 3.0.
They literally too will like somehow try to say that these people aren't Christians, which is just awkward to me. One thing, so I grew up very much.
Well, I mean, Jay, in the Church of Christ defense, the only Christians are the Church of Christ, so it's not that alien a concept to me.
No name. You were raised Church of Christ also?
Yeah, from about 13 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom remarried, so I had to go to Church of Christ Church, and it was awful. So bad.
It's, in my opinion, it is direct correlation to idol worship in the Bible, in the communion, in baptism. Those are the primary things, and to me, it's idol worship. Looking at it, hindsight 2020. What do you think?
Oh yeah,
no name.
It's very ironic. Yeah,
it's very ironic.
Was your Church of Christ church the kind like mine that didn't have musical instruments?
Yeah, non-denominational, non-instrumental.
Wait, what's up with the non-instrumental though?
Oh, dude, it was over slavery back during Civil War days, but they say it's over musical instruments in the church. At least that's what we were taught.
Yeah, make a joyful noise unto the Lord means you're supposed to do it from within yourself. So
he said, "Bring back the gold plate religions." Though everyone loves scavenger hunts.
Hey,
speaking of that, folks, y'all hit up them links in the description. Like I said, you could put one stack in the plate. You can put 2 stacks in the plate. You can put 3 stacks in the plate. I mean, we take your love. We take, you know what I'm talking about? We take Cash App. We take PayPal. We take Venmo. Links in the description.
Jay, I've got an idea. When I say Jesus in a surprising manner, sometimes I'll say Jesus, like that, you know, Jesus. So you should have a Jesus character, right?
Jesus character.
I plan on actually introducing one of those when we have our show, and it's a high pitched German voice. An American speaking Hitler with a little bit of a high pitch, and he will be played by Jesus. I'm sorry, that character will be Jesus.
That character will be Jesus.
Will be Jesus. Yes.
I work with.
Is that going to be on No Good and Evil? Is he going to be on?
Yeah, No Good and Evil. Correct. Every once in a while, it'll make an appearance for.
Do you want to look
sarcasm,
at
satire?
I love satire.
I'm trying to find a good. None of these shots are really good for looking at the banner. I was gonna see if you wanted to look at the potential backdrops.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, look at that. It's got to be. I like the tree aspect.
Right, that's got the tree thing going.
Yeah.
And then there's like some of these like good and evil type.
So I can only see a part of it, but I kind of
I see. That's what I'm saying. You can only see it.
Oh yeah.
Hang on a second.
Where'd the boss go?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like he muted himself.
I was trying to see if I could go off screen and still have my audio, but it won't. It's like no, you always want to be on screen. Although this is kind of what it'll look like when we have more than just me and you. But see, I like this one too.
Oh, that's good too.
But imagine this one. If I'll be on the left, you be on the right. This one looks like Jesus actually. Yeah. Oh wait! You guys, you know what we can do?
Wait! I'm the bad guy here?
No. I'll be on the left. You'll be
the good guy.
I'll be the bad guy.
You'll be the bad guy.
I have to be the bad guy. I can't be the good guy. I can't do that baby face stuff.
Does that make you the anti-hero?
Here's the thing. In the motif I plan on projecting, I accept
Jesus.
responsibility. I accept responsibility for being evil. I believe I have been accused, because I'm not a Christian, for being evil for that very reason. And accepting responsibility for that, and then portraying the people who are calling me evil, I am projecting onto them that they are an evil so evil, everyone believes it's good.
I mean, that's kind of that's what it is, though.
That's what it is.
Yeah. That's meta. I mean, but yeah, that's a good piece of satire. I also, real quick, want to shout out YouTube Punk in the live stream chat for saying that Jesus uses PayPal.
PayPal.
Yeah, I should change that. I'm gonna change that in the description and call it PayPal.
Can you imagine being a Jesus, being some variation of a Yahshua ben Yosef in the year 20 to 33, whenever you got knocked off?
The man they call Brian.
The man they call Brian.
Yeah.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
He's a very naughty boy.
So when you are there and you, just like all of us, feel like you have a bigger calling than you are actually in the present participating in, and you're this guy, you're not the all-begotten son at the moment. You will be someday, but you finally get you're born of a virgin. You're gonna die and resurrect, and then voila, you got 40 days. According to Acts of the Apostles, you got 40 days. Are you gonna just eat some broiled fish and not everybody's fully convinced? Or are you gonna start writing down God's word? Or oh, there you go. Yeah. That's nice. Or are you gonna have your word commissioned? Right then and there. Get it right. Or are you just going to, since we know that cherubim in Genesis 3, cherubim can have flaming swords, and I believe in Numbers, the story of Balaam and the donkey, there's an angel who can wield a sword. Why doesn't God just already have the book in place? Why didn't you just have it right there? The angels are ministering to this resurrected guy who's the
because what I want to do is set up an evil plan that's easily escapable and just assume everything went according to plan. What's so freaking wrong with that, people?
Well, there's the snake for you. And
then, I mean, God is basically Dr. Evil, right?
He's Dr. Evil, yes.
I'm just going to put this forbidden fruit in the garden and just assume no one would ever break my rules, especially people that don't know the difference between right and wrong. What could possibly go wrong with this plan?
And then the last option is, no, I'm just going to go ahead and live these 40 days out. I'm going to ascend to heaven, and then in 3 or 4 years I'm going to appear to Paul/Saul, and I'm going to convert him for him to write letters, and then it'll be a perfect plan.
But you got to give Saul a few years to persecute those Christians.
Exactly.
Otherwise his conversion won't be as impactful. So Jesus knowingly let Saul persecute Jews for 3 years, knowing that he could have changed his heart at any time.
Knowing he could have introduced him and said, "Hey, I tell you what, I'm going to send you a sign. I know you want people to remain Jews, but the Jew thing's over. As soon as I'm done,
the Jew thing's done, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah,
we're done.
Just shut that down.
Shut that shit down. We're now going to have the Cairo symbol instead of the Star of David, and voila, and then magic. And
that's how you know it was a miracle.
That's how you know it was a miracle. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, and I think all the miraculous stuff, I think without the super miraculous, like to me, the more super miraculous, like the better the particular theistic claims. Like I don't like these new softy gods that work like science, and that's
what are the softy gods, Jay?
Just like when people are softy gods would be like theism or like theistic evolution, like when God just kind of works, the minimal facts gods, I guess you could say. They're
God,
lame.
the God that works through naturalistic mechanisms.
Yeah.
It's always explainable through God did it. if you use that argument. He just uses natural mechanisms. That's why he used evolution to make humans. And all the other shit is just
exactly,
allegory, right? It was
All right,
never
so
meant
wait,
to be taken literally.
I got a question for Deepak. Do you think how many serious religious people you think are at Google?
At Google, that's a great question. That's a really great question. The other day, wow, I don't know. Like this of software engineers.
No, we need like including the cafeteria lady.
No. I'm thinking
that's what I was gonna
specifically
say.
like
So-
tech jobs. Like,
I'm kidding.
No, that's
well,
very
it would
good
shift
software.
everything. I think if you
Software engineers
included,
come with a very different kind of background, right? Like they're all
Yeah.
like mostly like post grad, and like the percentages are going to be very different. So I don't know. I was trying. Maybe I'm taking the question too seriously, but like
No. That's kind of my point. Is because I think one of the things that really is the one of the like hidden cost of faith, I guess that I'd call it, is that sort of you're less likely to do to me like STEM a lot of times, whether it's some.
It's almost never talked about, right? I have never there's one time when I've seen someone mention like religion in like a social context at work.
I imagine it would be a weird thing to come up.
Yeah.
In a tech company, it'd be
Yeah.
a
But I think
weird.
there are more people who are religious but just don't talk about it, right? Not like they're
Right.
embarrassed or anything. They just, I don't know.
And the funny thing is, technology usually kind of skates. That's why it'd be an interesting case, right? Because they're not necessarily anti-technology, right?
You mean religious?
Yeah. Like they're fine with engineering and stuff.
Well,
to
they're
an
not happy
extent.
with what tech companies are like. They think tech companies are doing politically, right? But yeah, they don't mind using the technology, of course. Right.
Right. And I think also like they think like those type of careers are practical because they see them as like high earning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably encourage their kids to, take up tech jobs, right? Like
Yeah.
they might not want them to be like I don't know, journalists and stuff, but
No stem cell research. Yeah, definitely no stem cell research. You're not.
Jim is on fire in the comments.
Mamas, don't
They
let your
are.
babies grow
The
up
comment
to
section
be
has been
cowboys.
great. This has been great. Yeah, definitely don't come home and tell mom you're doing stem cell research. That's not going over well at Thanksgiving, folks. Like I could just guarantee you that. But yeah, I'm so glad we did this. Like it's been a pretty good stream. I mean, all right, so yeah, do you guys have other thoughts? Like what else do you guys want to, I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I don't have anything. What did you guys think about that chapter?
I'm glad you did it. It's been a long time since I've heard that. It's probably been at least around 5 years, I'd say, since I last listened to it. I listened for about a half hour before it came on.
Yeah, and I was kind of making the point earlier that I feel like we do so much counter-apologetics that we end up talking a lot about what we don't believe and also the sort of representatives. Like it's easier for us to name the apologists sometimes than it is for us to name, well, like who do we actually think is good? Like who actually influences us in a positive way? And then I was talking to certain people and I'd mentioned people like Christopher Hitchens, and I realized a lot of atheists like hadn't really heard of him or didn't really know his stuff or whatever. So I was like, oh, maybe we should actually talk more about that. So hopefully this will be fun. I'll definitely do a chapter a week, and then after this we'll see what's next. I know we had talked about doing sort of Darwin, Dawkins, and Christopher Hitchens, and I think since I use that as the Trinity, I think that'd be a perfect way to start. So I think I'll probably start with Christopher Hitchens, and then maybe I'll do a Dawkins thing, and then I'll go full on evolutionary biologist does commentary on the origin of species or something, and we'll get into some straight up OG Charles Darwin.
That would be cool. That would be great.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a Darwin nerd, just so you guys know a little bit about me. Believe it or not, not all evolutionary biologists are Darwin nerds. Most scientists, like in their day-to-day, don't really care. And so they kind of see Darwin as like, of course, he came up with some cool ideas. The field has kind of moved on.
Yeah.
And he's kind of seen as like an old head. And mainly people who get into him are guys who like to like sit around and read old books. You know what I'm saying? But I am a huge Darwin fan because honestly, like his ideas were so good that they're still so relevant. Like that, even though the field is asking questions in a different way than he could ask, a lot of the things that we're just starting to really be able to do in experiments and stuff, he actually did talk about. And it's crazy how insightful and like ahead of his time he was. And then beyond that, we're so lucky that the person who, like, you know, came, I want to say, like, did a lot to establish the theory of evolution. Obviously, he didn't come up with it. There was a lot of people around, and obviously Wallace had the thing at the same time. But that the guy who sort of became synonymous with it. See you later, YouTube punk. Or Jim, I don't know who's heading out. Jim's heading out. See you later, Jim. Thanks so much for coming through, man. Appreciate your comments, and definitely hope to see you again on the channel, my friend. But yeah, we're lucky that the person who is synonymous with it actually had such a passion for it, so to speak. And like he has this amazing story, right, of like traveling around the world. And he was like one of the craziest like collectors of his time. And he actually is like an expert on like all these different sort of like nerdy little side elements of science, but he really was able to put that together. So he trained in a way that we don't really train anymore. And then he writes like I took this class called The Rhetoric of Science, the Science of Rhetoric, and my teacher was talking about how he was always stoned on nature. But he'll literally talk about how like he would always take these constitutionals and he'll talk about how he's like walking through somewhere and he's seeing all the foliage and all the plants and all the life around him. And then he would see a plant so beautiful. And then he'd say, and then I just couldn't walk anymore. Like he talks about seeing stuff and it just like stopping him in this track. Like, I mean, this dude has this like, he's not even that like, he fucks up a lot of his writing. Like he's crazy run-on sentences and these paragraphs that just go on for days. You know what I mean? But he wanted to get it all out. And we got to remember the Origin of Species was supposed to be an abstract, right? Like he thought this was like the preview of like his actual case. And then he established a lot of the scientific virtues in terms of writing about, well, if I'm right, then we should get evidence like this. But if I'm wrong, then this. And if we find this, then that would really undermine my theory. And, you know, this question and that question I still haven't figured out. And so it's really awesome to kind of take that trip back in time and, you know, like actually go through it in his own words and really kind of break it down.
There's a new question in the
yeah, YouTube Punk
chat.
said, dumb question, was science harder back then? I have no idea, obviously, but my thinking would be, yeah, hell yeah.
Education was certainly in less demand.
It depends on harder. Like, I feel like there was probably less competition amongst scholars. Like, there was just way less people doing it, and there was way less established knowledge, so you could just kind of jump in because stuff was still just being set up. But at the same time, only very, very few people would ever even have the opportunity because of so many other factors.
Yeah, that's why it's the reason the competition was less, because you had to be basically like, you know, a gentleman with like, you know, making an income from like your land and stuff so that you could focus on science. Like many of the great scientists, like, right, and they were all like from wealthy families, so they
right.
Oh yeah. Oh, who was the geologist who mapped out so much of England, and I think he was the one that really came up with the various geological strata.
Lyell,
Charles
Lyell.
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't he like a poor guy who got screwed over for several years by his patron?
I don't know that much about him. That's very interesting, though.
Yeah, they had this weird system of patronage if you weren't from a noble family, and because he didn't have one of them who didn't have a good upbringing, but he had great ideas, and he slaved away as an apprentice for years. Basically, all his work got stolen by his boss. That sort of story, you know.
Yeah, actually,
I think science is a lot more democratic.
I think I have heard parts of this. Yeah, that's very interesting. You know what? Something else I was going to say is that you got to admit that for a lot of people, especially if you weren't a gentleman or something, right? The church was a way to get into that, right? Because you could essentially be, assigned sort of a scholastic type of vocation.
Right. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the discovery.
I do remember a story. I think of an English guy who did astronomy and built a telescope that was like 4 stories tall or something like that. And
on his own?
I think he got screwed over multiple times on some of his, certainly church objections to what he had come up with. Much like Galileo.
Wow. Yeah, so many. There's a book that has a lot of those stories. I have it somewhere in my digital library. I forget what it's called, but it kind of catalogs a lot of these lesser and greater heresies, if you will, throughout the sort of process. It's amazing, actually. And honestly, I hate to say it, but like we don't even realize how lucky of a time we live in. Like I literally just spent last night joking about cursing out pastors and banging their wives and daughters, and like you really can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like
you'd have been burned at the stake.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Some of those were quite entertaining. I must tell you, Jay, that was a very entertaining show last night.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I actually got concerned that we peaked too early because I have no idea how to follow up on that. It was.
That was brilliant. The guy that was dancing, was just quite the treat.
Yeah,
put the Tupac on.
With the cripple walk.
Yeah, the cripple walk.
Oh,
you want to know what's funny? There's 2 things that got that video demonetized. One was the shout song at the end, which I'm like, fine, that's totally worth it. And the other is him in that damn Tupac song.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, he sampled like 3 minutes of it.
Yeah, but you know what? This is the best time in a community because literally, like, what is the consequences of me getting a video demonetized? I literally check it and I'm like, demonetize. It's like, great, nothing. We're good. No worries here. Like, we're in the clear. No content, no copyright strikes. We're fine. Like,
yeah,
like, I don't care.
Well, I think if you were using it, you would definitely fall under fair use there.
Yeah, and I'm like, I could always like protest it if I had to, and maybe if I was in the partnership program or something. But like, I don't care at this point.
Yeah, same. I agree. That's a battle. That's not a hill you're gonna die on.
No. Now, see, what sucks is like I had my first video taken down.
The one on Marjorie.
No,
Taylor
the Joel Osteen.
Oh, really?
For what?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that one though.
It was like the second. It was like the second one. You can't see it. That's why.
Why was it taken down?
It got blocked because of the. I don't know. They said there was a copyright strike. I'm gonna look it up right now, and I'm gonna show you guys what's going on with it.
Is it the Christian Coalition just creating havoc?
It looked like they were mad about, or not mad about, but that it got flagged for a clip that was in it. So I said trim it out. I don't know if that matters. Let me see.
I've never seen one of these dashboards before.
I don't know which one it is. Yeah, so maybe it was this one. Let me see. No, 15 minutes. Yeah, so this is what happened. I guess they clipped everything out, and now they've left me with a 15-minute video of like 2 hours or whatever.
Could be a submarine,
YouTube,
maybe, or
which.
Damn, that's a lot of objectionable content right there.
Can we say led astray, perhaps? Okay, in that search for the light, because your victory, okay, folks. Okay, you gotta understand what today is about. Okay, it's about victory. Let's see what they left in here. Victory, victory, victory.
Sir Peeping Thomas.
Come on, Paula. Do it one more time. Victory, victory. That was fun. But I got converted at the end. I don't know if I can play the conversion part. That's what I want to see. Begins in the dark. But God was doing the work in your life. And I'm like, I still don't believe any of that. What are you talking? Okay, listen, this shit's actually funny. Looking for the light, you may have been doing it wrong. See, I wasn't coming at you. I really wasn't coming at you. I just had a hunch based on the title, "Victory Begins in the Dark," that we were gonna experience a bit of a reorienting. I mean, I didn't know I was gonna get born again. That's mind blowing. Like, just blew my mind, because I don't believe anything of that man's religion at all. But somehow I did sincerely pray the prayer. I prayed it 3 times. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's the Trinity effect. Maybe that's the Trinity. I don't know. But I did say the prayer sincerely 3 times, and y'all heard him say a couple of times, right, that he believes if you pray that prayer, you're born again. Now, this is gonna complicate my life. Oh wait, here's the funny part. I don't know if y'all understand that. Y'all might think, "Oh, Jay, you're just making fun. You're having a good time." No, I'm not. I'm not happy about this. This is not convenient for me. You understand? I gotta explain to people who think I'm an atheist that I'm born again, but I still don't believe anything, and they're not gonna accept that. And they're going to start asking me hard questions, asking me for evidence and all of this stuff. And all I'm going to have is Joel Osteen said very clearly that all I had to do was pray a prayer to be born again. And so I prayed a prayer to be born again, right? Okay, boom. Now, if I go to all my Christian friends who, unfortunately, I don't have, a ton of people in my life who are not either atheists or Christians. I have some don't want to hold out on the diversity that I do have in my life, but it's not enough. You know what I'm talking about? I need some more different people to hang out with really badly. All right, but anyway,
Jay, did you get some baptizing?
I'm born again.
You got baptized?
No, what happened was he said very clearly, at the end of his sermon, he has this prayer, right? And he's like, what does he say? He says, Jesus, I want to let you into my heart. I make you my savior, whatever. And so I prayed the prayer, and then I genuinely prayed it. I said to everybody in the audience, if you have to pray it with me, and you can't just say the words, you have to genuinely, sincerely pray it. And then I rewound it, and we prayed it 3 times because of the Trinity. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he's like, and we believe if you prayed that prayer, then you are born again. And I was like, nigga, what?
Dude, you're a born again atheist.
Like, I wasn't ready for that. Like, I was, I said, we were just trying to be hospitable. Like, we just listened to the man's sermon. He asked us to pray. like Christopher Hitchens said, right? If you go to their temple, right, you be polite. I said, he's our guest. Okay, so now he did his sermon. All right, so we should just pray the prayer, like, as just to be polite. And then he hits me with, oh, yeah, now we think you're born again. Like, what? Like, I don't have to believe in Jesus. I don't have to believe Christ died for my sins and rose. None of that. None of that.
Just that easy.
Deepak, you been baptized? No? No name?
Yeah, I've been baptized.
You got baptized? You
multiple times.
Multiple times, not once, but twice. That's right, folks?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, my Methodist baptism wasn't good enough for my Church of Christ step family, so I had to get rebaptized. And then when I
keep
got
it 100 around here,
and then when I got born again in 2004, I got baptized again.
Oh,
So
my.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
three times.
Yeah, they say third time's a charm.
So it's like Beetlejuice and it's like,
here's the best part. That particular denomination I was a member of had this once saved, always saved doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like Jay said, I don't have to believe any of this shit. I'm good.
Right? You're just good for life. Honestly, how I felt was I literally felt like all my religious efforts, Jesus actually felt like I was genuinely special to him because I was born into a family I was born in like 5 generations of ministers. So I literally felt like I was born into Jesus's actual family. You understand? Like Jesus was like the older uncle type figure that was around, like, oh, that's just Jesus, what do we gotta do? Oh, Jesus is this damn, pretty boy lead singer. What we gotta do? Oh yeah, I gotta play the drums for the song about Jesus, and grandpa's gotta preach a sermon about Jesus, and grandma gonna holler and hoot about Jesus, and my mom is in a gospel group about Jesus. We just we're like in the Jesus company. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact that I actually pray and read the Bible and kick it with Jesus in my spare time, like that's all bonus. That's just me and Jesus just building chemistry. Right. Just bonding a little bit. Having our own personal time. So I was straight good. There was really nothing to really worry about there. And then I started asking too many questions. I started wanting to know, Jesus, I want to know about your history, though. I want to know, but where did you really grow up, though? And, what did you really, what's up with the disciples? Why their names keep getting messed up? And then I started reading all these books. I was like, Jesus, come on, Jesus. I know you don't want to answer my questions sometimes, but they be writing books about you, bro. I've been reading about you, dog. Dog, what's up? Your story kind of funny. Hold on. Some of this not adding up.
Jay, I don't want to alarm you, but I learned last night it was because Whitey got a hold of that book and filled your head full of lies.
No,
I don't know. But if you think about it, right, the story started in, Nazareth, Bethlehem-ish, area, and then the Gospels was all about the Greeks, right? So I don't know. He's kind of on to something.
Jesus
the whitewashing
was black.
started
Jesus
early.
Was black. You saying it here.
The whitewashing started very early.
Jesus was.
Because wait, I got the perfect evidence. What are the gospel names?
Matthew, Mark, Luke.
There you go. You go.
Or
let's all take a little field trip to the Middle East and see how many Matthew, Marks, Lukes, and Johns we run into.
Well, that could be because of the King James. I'm sure in Greek they're, like I have, even though Jimmy isn't a Greek name necessarily, I think Demetrius or something like that is the actual name. So it might, James is probably, the letters of James are probably in Demetrius or something like that, the name of it. So it's a Greek translation. It's an English translation of the Greek into an equivalent name.
So I found out about my name. Jason is actually a Greek name, and it means to heal something. So it's very interesting to become a doctor and be named Jason.
Well, Jason, I remember reading the stories of Jason, and isn't there a Greek mythology about?
Yeah, there is there's a Jason in mythology. But then what's
there's
also
a picture
interesting
opposite me of my primitive ancestry that stood on the rocky shores and kept the beaches shipwreck free. Although I respect that a lot, I'd be fired if that were my job. After killing Jason off and countless screaming Argonauts. Sorry, that's what that made me think of, right?
What is that? Where is that from?
It's from a song by They Might Be Giants called what is it called? Oh shit!
YouTube
Make a
Punk
little
was all
birdhouse.
over it, of course.
Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
We are gonna have to give YouTube Punk
Build
those
a little
mod
birdhouse in your soul.
privileges.
Build a little
YouTube Punk, join my Discord, and you can help me stay on top of stuff. And I can also introduce you to Mashed Potato, who's like the OG mod from my Twitch. So, yeah, like this is super funny. So what's interesting is
I need to hop.
Oh, you got to run? Thanks so much, Deepak. I'm gonna end the stream pretty soon. Actually, I'm at like 3 hours, so I'm gonna end it pretty soon. The only thing I was gonna say is that actually Jesus' name was like Jeshua, and so basically I read that Jason is one of the names that like it might have been converted to, right? Like when they gave. Because like when the Greeks took over and they gave the people who were Hebrew, when they gave them Greek names, people who were named Jeshua were frequently renamed Jason. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the name Jacob is the direct James, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it's weird how they morphed then a little bit because there wasn't a one-to-one equivalence. But yeah, folks, I'm gonna call it. It's been 3 hours. I think this has been great. I'm so glad people actually joined me. This went so much better than I thought.
Oh, okay.
That
went fast. Live.
Did he get so excited that he cut himself off?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. It accidentally like hit the back or something. My bad. But yeah, no. I actually was just saying this went so much better than I thought. I thought I thought I was gonna be sitting here by myself and just me and Hitch having a one-on-one. So this went so much better. I want to start by thanking my guest, Deepak, No Name, Tux. Can't thank you guys enough. And the chat was just on fire tonight. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the comments. I feel like all my stream buddies came through. Cameron, YouTube Punk, Jim, Deepak was in the chat a little bit. Thugzilla, Wayne's. Yeah, man, I appreciate all you guys for coming through and making comments. And definitely to all the people that check this stream out later, thank you so much for doing that, especially if you make it all the way through. Definitely let me know what you think down below in the comments. I especially would love to hear what you guys think of some of Christopher Hitchens' thoughts and then maybe some of the things we were discussing here. And don't forget to check out Late-Night Counter-Apologetics. That's going to be 1 a.m. on Sunday morning, so staying up late on Saturday night. Don't forget to check out Hot Program. That's 3:30 p.m. Eastern on my other channel. And very soon, you will be able to check out that No Good and Evil with me and Tux right here. And you've got a little bit of taste tonight of how much fun we're going to have on that podcast. So that'll be on its own channel. Definitely join the Discord and stuff, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. Thank you guys so much for doing this. Fantastic. And you guys can stay on for a minute if you want. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Pocket Locker has left the building. Poof.